app.
Two sides of the same timeline. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
Donald Trump's first 100 days have been one of the worst first 100 days of any U.S. president in history.
California Congressman Ted Lieu, vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus, says Trump policies are harming America. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt says the president is making historic improvements.
After building the greatest economy in the world in his first term as president, President Trump is in the process of doing that all over again.
The president marks the first 100 days of his second term with a rally later today at a community college in Michigan. He's expected to sign an executive order giving automakers some tariff relief aimed at rewarding companies that build cars in the U.S. and allowing time to bring supply chains for parts back to the U.S. Amazon is denying reports it'll list the cost of tariffs next to some products. Fox's Jared Halpern at the White House.
An Amazon spokesperson says a team running the low-cost Amazon Hall store considered listing import charges on certain products, but says it was never approved and is not going to happen. That statement follows a harsh rebuke of the plan by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt earlier today.
This is a hostile and political act by Amazon.
Leavitt had accused the company of partnering with the Chinese propaganda arm. The House easily passes a bill aimed at cracking down on the posting of explicit images, including deep fake nudes generated without consent.
The Take It Down Act, championed by First Lady Melania Trump and passed by the Senate 2 months ago, stands for the tools to address known exploitation by immobilizing technological deep fakes on websites and networks. It's the first U.S. law taking aim at the fast-growing problem.
Fox's Lillian Wu, though some advocates are concerned that free expression and privacy rights could be infringed by bad actors. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The atmosphere is quite moist and juicy, and we're looking for another batch of rain and thunderstorms to develop mid to late afternoon, especially to our south. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of clouds and sunshine, windy at 75. Some showers, some thunderstorms around tonight. Wednesday, showers and some thunderstorms, 76, and still kind of wet on Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
History is happening in DC, and 97.1 FM Talk is on the inside. Our very own Manny Fry has been selected to join the national press pool covering President Trump's 100th day in office.
I'm going to Washington, and you're coming with me.
Exclusive access, unfiltered insight, local coverage, and we're inviting you along.
I'm Manny Fry, reporting from the White House throughout the day on 97.1 FM Talk.
Annie Goes to Washington is presented by Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric.
Baseball is back, and this season there are more ways than ever to watch your Cardinals on FanDuel Sports Network. As always, you can watch FanDuel Sports Network through TV providers including DirecTV, Spectrum, Xfinity, Fubo, and more. New for 2025, you can subscribe directly to FanDuel Sports Network and stream the Cardinals without blackouts. And for a limited time, you can get started with a 30-day free trial using code CARDS30DAY when you sign up at FanDuelSportsNetwork.com. Visit Cardinals.com/TV to learn more.
You had a solid retirement dream. Sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But with an unpredictable economy and the future feeling uncertain, you're wondering if that equity will still be there when you're ready. What if you could bank that equity right now? With Truehold, you can sell your home for its current value so you can access your equity today. You can bank the cash now and stay in the home you love with an easy standard lease. Truehold even covers property taxes, insurance, and repairs. And since Truehold hands over your equity in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like. Don't let a shifting economy put your hard-earned equity at risk. Visit Truehold.com and receive their competitive offer on your home in just 48 hours, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's Truehold.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
This is Congressman Shri Thanedar. Donald Trump has already done real damage to our democracy, but defying a unanimous 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, that has to be the final straw. It's time we impeach Donald J. Trump. The court said the wrongfully deported Kilmer Garcia must be allowed to return and receive due process. Trump ignored it. He ignored the Constitution. He ignored the very checks and balances that keep our democracy intact. This isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a dangerous, deliberate pattern. That's why today I introduced a resolution to impeach Donald J. Trump.
Man, you know what else is not an isolated incident? Impeaching Donald Trump. You just do that over and over and over again, and they're going to keep doing it. And in fact, the Republicans, if they don't keep the House, Donald Trump will be impeached again. That's how important it is. But we are on day 100 here on the Manny Fry Show. And I wanted to open just with a little bit of Resistance Media, just to let you know where we're at. They haven't stopped yet. But today's YouTube live chat poll we're going to get to in a minute because it's about the 100 days. Welcome to the Manny Fry Show here on these unique couple days, especially today, because Annie is in Washington, D.C. Yesterday at this time, Annie was able to join us right from the start of the show. Is it possible that she's going to join us again here soon? Yes.
Yeah, very possible.
But she's on the steps of Capitol Hill.
Well, I'm not sure where she's at.
What do we think?
she's in Washington, D.C. somewhere.
And so we are trying to
she's
connect.
in my left ear right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So Brad's talking while being talked to by Annie and me.
So if it sounds like I'm in a speech jammer, that's why.
So it's not necessarily a technical thing. We just don't know. She's doing so much. In fact,
hold on. This is breaking.
Oh, breaking news. Okay, here we go.
What a scoop. Ryan's a goofball. All right, go ahead.
That's not cool.
That's not cool, he says.
So Annie is actively joining us in this show probably multiple times and probably for a length of time. But she's in the midst of doing a lot. I would say compared to the first 24 hours, she's actually done double the amount in the last 24 hours. So we're going to have a lot of content for you, not only from her, but with her during this show. But before we get there, the YouTube live chat poll today, kind of honoring the 100 days, when it opened with impeachment audio. Will the next 100 days have, and here's your choices, more victories, less victories, about the same, or there haven't been any victories. We gave you that last one if you're a Trump hater, because we knew you'd try to find something there. Maybe less victories would have been you, but that, that one's for you. So will there be more victories in the next 100 days, less, or about the same, really is our question for you today. There are a variety of ways that you could approach this. There are a variety of ways that I was approaching this in my head, which is why I thought it was a pretty good question for today. I think that a lot of what he's setting up could be those victories that we see in the next 100 days. What does that mean? Well, it does mean a lot about tariffs.
We've had an organ transplant in the Republican Party. The new organ is tariffs. This has not been part of the body Republicans. And so Republicans, I think, are still...
How are you taking it?
I mean, we'll see, because I think what's on deck here and what will help reverse this trend in the polling, trade deals, announcements are good, peace deals, less chaos is good, tax deals, lower taxes is good, budget deals, looking like the Republicans are a competent governing party. So it's time for let's make a deal. And that will, I think, help people see the future, see the trajectory changing from something that they're nervous about to something where they can see. And we had a question about, does he have a clear plan? That would tell you, yes, they have a clear plan, because it looks like they're announcing deal after deal after deal. That's what they have to do next. That's what will reverse it.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons that he keeps announcing, ooh, we're close to a deal, ooh, we're close to a deal, because that actually helps the market a little bit. And I don't think he's trying to hurt the market that badly, but he's looking long-term here, of course. We all know this. And these deals probably are pretty close, but there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of big change happening. And it's not just with China. It's not just with one nation. It's with every nation in the world. He's negotiating right now with literally, I think, every country that we trade with. He is re-examining those deals.
Yeah. And I think that's a good thing. I know people are hand-wringing about tariffs and stuff like that. What I really hope that is happening is what they are doing is resetting the table, because there are a lot of lopsided deals, and because the United States economy is so strong, we're able to absorb some of that. But why should we do lopsided deals? Like, give me a good reason to do lopsided deals. So if we have to reset the table, now's as good a time as ever, especially with a country like China, because China doesn't like us. China isn't a competitor. They are an enemy. They do not like us. As soon as he put those tariffs on, I don't know if you follow how much on Twitter you saw, but the Chinese accounts came out and started talking a lot about how, the United States is going to fall with these tariffs and trying to instill fear. They launched an operation against the American people. And, it's a propaganda operation, but it's propaganda nonetheless. And they launched that against the United States because China wants to be the dominant world power.
And they came out in their official sources with things like, why are they doing this? Is so hard.
Yes.
We didn't ask for any of these problems. You're creating problems where there aren't any problems.
Yeah, you're stealing intellectual property. I don't want to hear it.
Right. So there are a lot of deals being made right now, and understandably, that's going to take some time. So that could happen in the next 100 days. That would mean that there would be maybe more victories, but other things that could happen in the next 100 days are, if you're looking for justice with some of these crazy money laundering that looks to have existed, man, I'm going to hold on to the Act Blue stuff I have again. I teased it yesterday, talked about it a little with Mark Cox this morning. But man, they are really going after this Democrat money. I want to say money laundering, although it might be money raising organization, we will say for now, because it's alleged, all the other things. But that could be big in the next 100 days, all this stuff. Or are you in the less victories category? Not because you're not optimistic, maybe you aren't, but that you say, gosh, he got so much done already in the first 100 days. Think about the difference between this administration right now and the last 4 years. You might look at that and go, hallelujah, things have gotten so much better. We have competency across the board. They're rooting out some of this deep state corruption. Can we keep up that pace? I don't think so. I think there's actually going to be less victories than there were in the last 100 days. Or is it about the same? You think he and they, the administration, are just going to sort of keep the gas pedal down, and what happens, happens. That I've seen some people chiming in and saying, yeah, I think that's probably about the pace, that we're going to stay right here. So that's the YouTube live chat poll today. Will the next 100 days be more victories, less victories, about the same, or there haven't been any victories? Because I hate Trump. Again, we are going to connect with Annie, and she is in DC right now. But some of these weird things I wanted to start with this because this is a weird and breaking story that there's a whole bunch of angles to. But, well, Annie was in the press room this morning with Carolyn Levitt. This clip came from the press briefing this morning.
It was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
Here she is. She was in that press briefing this morning. We have connected with Miss Manny Fry. Hello.
Hi. How are you guys doing?
Good. Where are you at right now?
Sitting in Congressman Mike Bost's office.
Okay.
He's not here. I did an interview with him, like a 4 or 5 minute interview. You guys are going to get to hear that either today or tomorrow when I get back. We're going to have more content that we're going to be able to turn over to you throughout the entire week here, as I'm covering officially today Donald Trump's 100th day live from Capitol Hill, this time in the chairman of the Veterans Affairs office. It's a really beautiful office, walking around the Capitol and seeing how all of these things function over here. I'm excited to also share with you, Brad will have this shortly, an interview that I sat down 10 minutes in Senator Eric Schmidt's office as well. So you'll be able to watch that interview, and all of this made possible. A huge thank you to Stewart's American Mortgage, the bagel loan guy. If you're looking for a mortgage or a mortgage refinance, please connect with Stewie, 314-324-4440, or you can just Google the bagel loan. And also our friends at Grasser Electric. If you have an emergency electrical situation, if you need to have old wiring made new in your house, whatever it is, Grasser Electric can help make sure you stay connected and powered up. And we're so grateful for both of them for making this possible. Lots of cool content today. Started with the White House press briefing, another one 8:30 a.m. Eastern time, 7:30 a.m. Central time. And this time I got to see Scott Bessant, and really interesting to see these people who we watch, would you say literally every day that we're in the studio, we see, the likes of Tom Homan and Scott Bessant, and listen to him talk about the progress of the Trump administration so far on everything they're trying to do, but specifically with the tariffs and the deals. That Amazon story, I hadn't heard that until this is really why you have a press briefing and why you have all these reporters together to talk to the administration and hold them accountable. I hadn't heard about that. I'm probably going to go back and watch my reaction to him. Or it was a man, right, that was asking that question. Mm-hmm. I think so. And when they said that, I was like, well, that's crap. And again, I was like, ooh, you don't need to be expressive, Annie, with your facial expressions. But to hear the response from the press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, say that was a bold move for Amazon to come back and do that, and later to be asked about the relationship between Jeff Bezos and Donald Trump, which she didn't comment on. I thought to myself, all right, this is how this is going to go. And I heard it myself from the press briefing, but I was standing about 10 feet away from the person asking that question. So pretty cool.
Crazy stuff. Yeah, that story in particular, I wanted to lead with because it was one that everybody's kind of talking about right now. And there's a lot of mistruths and misstatements about it. But Carolyn Levitt kind of put things in their perspective. Then Amazon came out, Annie, and said, no, we're not actually doing that. And then, it might have happened right before or right after you were interviewing Senator Eric Schmidt. He tweeted out that, yes, they were going to do that, but now they're backpedaling. So all the press that they're putting out is actually just damage control at this point. So, Annie, this morning being in the press room again, was there anything else that you're like, oh, yeah, this really stood out to me today?
I think that the Bessant press conference, I'd have to look at the actual clocked time on the difference between the focus on the national security or the border with Tom Homan yesterday. It seemed a lot longer than the one today. She moved through a lot more questions yesterday, but this is just me reading the room, so to speak. I think that the emotion behind the immigration issue, the deportation issue, the border security, I think that is something people are pretty emotional about. And there is some attraction because of that emotion to talking about that issue. A lot of things that the Trump administration can champion. And as I'll tell you guys the question I was going to ask if I got called on here, but I'm sitting in this room with all of these really smart people who are super plugged into the very here and now. You've got economic experts. Bloomberg got to ask a question. I think there was business entities that were asking questions today, which is a smart move by the administration to call on those people. But I think to myself, like, who's talking to those American Trump supporters this election? The people who saw what the Democrats have done to our pocketbooks. How we listened to the entire Biden administration. We listened to Joe Biden. If he was talking, if they were talking, it was always about, we got to fix the Trump economy. They tried to paint the whole time any sort of economic woes with inflation going out of control over and over and over again, that this was somehow Trump's fault. And you and I, and we're, none of us here in this conversation are like whiz kids, economic masters or anything, but we know it was COVID. Like, we know that if you want to pin on Donald Trump any sort of economic negativity, you got to only start during COVID. You can't go anytime before that because everything in the economy was going gangbusters. And if COVID wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't be in the position we are in right now. And the Biden administration tried to paint all of the massive spending that they were implementing, all of the blooming inflation that we were having to deal with, and just try to say, people hate Donald Trump so much, we'll just say Trump did it. And they'll just pin all of this bad stuff that we're creating on him. Donald Trump's got to put it back in order. He knows what to do. He's committed to doing it. We've talked about this a lot. He's midstream on it. He's not to the other side yet, but the American people know that and understand it. And listening to those people in the press briefing today, I'm like, these people are asking questions for the smart people. I was going to ask a question for the rest of us. And I can tell you on the other side of this break, if you want me to stick with you, what that question was.
Yeah. So is it fair to say that this 24 hours has been busier than the first 24?
I got about 6 hours of sleep last night, and it's hard. The buzzing is on my side,
okay.
And I'm in, like I said, the congressman's office, and I have no idea what it is. Hopefully, they're not coming to get me.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like crazy lady in the Veterans Affairs Chairman's office. It's been, my life traditionally is super busy, going from ball game to volleyball court and everything. And that's busy, and I love it and I miss it. This is a different kind of busy. This is intense. And I think Brad sent me here specifically to try to make me do all this tech stuff by myself. I think Brad thought, let's see how this girl can hang without all my tech support.
There was never a doubt.
Well, listen, if I have accomplished anything, the labor and head scratching and Googling that went into manufacturing stuff, it's been laborious, but very privileged to be here and to get to talk to you. And again, thanks to Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage and the folks at Grasser Electric for making it possible.
Brad told me before the show that starting Wednesday, it's going to be all grace and mercy for him with everything from here on out. And he's really looking forward to that. So
I am starting to see the investment here. I think I completely understand.
Well, let's get a full report on what your last 24 hours to a day, because we haven't talked to you since the station has talked to you. But we here on the Manny Fry have not talked to you since yesterday at about 1 o'clock.
You know, I'm saving the good stuff for you guys.
Well, we hope, but we'll see. That will be determined. That's the tease. Is the good stuff next, or is she already blown it all? I guess you got to stick around and see. This is the Manny Fry Show. We'll be right back.
If you can use some exotic booze, there's a bar in far Bombay. Come on and fly with me. Let's fly away.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
Come fly with me. Let's float down to Peru.
Stewart's American Mortgage, my friend Stewie, this is where you go to ensure that the bagel loan is yours, because you can't get the bagel loan anywhere else other than with Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage. The easy way to contact him is by phone. You can call him or text him directly. My generation, we like to text, and he's happy to do that. 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Reach out to Stewie and say, I need a bagel loan. Tell me what I need to do to qualify. He'll go through the process with you. He'll explain it in detail so you can understand with that bagel loan why you pay $0 in closing costs. Not tucked away, not hidden, not rolled into the loan. $0 in closing costs. Secure a low rate for yourself. If you're doing a refinance, a lower rate than you were paying before, or maybe you take some cash out and invest in getting rid of some high interest credit card debt, maybe an improvement on your home. Whatever it is, Stewie can help you. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan. NMLS number 226715.
Baseball is all about stepping up to the plate when it matters most. And when you've been injured, you need a heavy hitter in your corner. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Proud sponsor of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Injured? Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Your home is your sanctuary. Get the peace of mind you deserve with a free estimate on a Generac home standby generator from Generator Supercenter. They're the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. With expert installation and 24-hour monitoring, Generator Supercenter won't leave you in the dark. Financing is available. Take control of your power today with Generator Supercenter of St. Louis. Call 314-499-2020. That's 499-2020 or GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com. That's GeneratorSuperCenterofSt.Louis.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. 800-568-4433. 800-568-4433.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
You're listening to the Manny Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is hiring licensed journeymen. Don't have a journeyman license? Air Comfort Service will help you get it. Get guaranteed hours year-round and more. Apply online at aircomfortservice.com.
Andy Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
I got this feeling inside my bones.
This is the Manny Fry Show. The Manny Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine.
President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people. We had 4 years of bad deals for decades of unfair trading, and we are going to unwind those and make them fair. What we are doing is we've created a process. I think the aperture of uncertainty will be narrowing. And as we start moving forward, announcing deals, then there will be certainty. But certainty is not necessarily a good thing in negotiating.
That's Scott Bessant, the Treasury Secretary, and Manny Fry was in Washington D.C. Still is in Washington D.C. She was in the room for that press briefing this morning with Scott Bessant, and that's really big stuff. I mean, we're talking about trade stuff. Everybody in the world is talking about it. Everybody in the world is wringing their hands about it. And Annie was there, so I figured I'd start with a really big question about Scott Bessant. Is he like super tall?
Super tall.
Is he?
Yeah. Yeah. He is. I feel bad. Oh, here comes the buzzing again. Well, I don't. This one's not going to stop.
That was not going to stop?
What does that mean? Do you know what I think that might be? That might be a call to vote. I think that might be a buzzer that says, hey, you should probably go in there and vote. I should go vote. I'll be right back. I got some things to vote on, people. I think that's what that is, actually. Bessant, I was going to say, what was the question? It was important.
It was really is Bessant tall?
But I always think he's kind of like robotic, and it didn't get that same vibe off of TV. And I feel like now that I've seen these people, or they're not okay, I don't think Scott Bessant is going to tune into the Manny Fry Show. But if he did, I wouldn't want him to hear bad things about him after I had the opportunity to do this. But that's not really how the rest of the press really operates, Like there's no concern for hurting people's feelings because you said something about them physically. That's why I'm so, I don't know. I wonder how long you have to stay in Washington, D.C. and do this till you get totally jaded. Because I'm not jaded. I like being here. I like soaking all of this in. I like seeing the stuff happening. And I thought he did a really good job of explaining where they are so far when people are asking questions. One thing that I've had brought up to me, this is one of the questions that I had as a backup if I did get called on and my initial question kind of got asked. But have you seen that he's going on X and talking about financial literacy? Have you seen the stuff that
Scott
he's been
Bessant
putting out?
is?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
And it's kind of talking to young people. He did a call with TPUSA and Charlie Kirk's group. We had a lot of young people on there, but I mean, there are like videos on X where you can go. I haven't watched all of them yet. Somebody just told me about them this morning, and I'm going to go check them out. But he's like, hey, here's how you can do smart financial things with your life. And I'm like, that's what I need. Like, I want to be able to just say, all right, trust the smart people to go do the things that they're supposed to do and take care of tariffs and world trade. But tell me how I can make my financial position in the future better. But the problem is, and the reason why you need to have a press that is an advocate for the people, that doesn't mean it's adversarial. It doesn't mean it's oppositional, but it can mean that if what the people who are in charge and making the decisions and the deals and everything, if they're not advocating for the people they represent, then all of a sudden it becomes oppositional. I just find it very interesting that somebody with the stature and position of the Secretary of the Treasury is like, hey, let me talk to you about financial literacy. So I encourage people to go check that out. I'm going to have to do the same myself.
Well, that stuff's really important. This is stuff that used to be taught in a variety of ways throughout a kid's life. So your parents hopefully were teaching you about basics of economics, with your allowance or whatever. The history of the country, civics, that stuff's not taught in schools in the same way that it used to be. In some schools, they still teach civics.
It's required,
but it's very heavy-handed with viewpoint.
Yes,
instead of being what we know to be just civics classes. So this kind of stuff, it's really important. And now, Annie, as a Washington insider, which you now are.
Time to vote.
Oh, you got to go vote. Shoot, man. Thanks for your time, though. Gosh, we appreciate it.
What are we voting on,
just
guys?
Squeezing us in.
I just figure I'm on the I don't know what we're voting on. I'll just read it after we pass it plan.
Just have your staff do it and tell you what to do.
Hey, do you know you guys are like part of my staff?
Oh, yeah.
If I had staff, it would be you. I'm going to let Ryan Wiggins read this and tell me how to vote.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you yes to everything, and I'm going to take tons of kickbacks.
I'm going to get kicked out of this office.
Yeah, you are.
We're doing the interview.
You can't do that in there. But I saw today, Annie, there's a person on Twitter X who had been kind of a data person, and they became part of Doge because they were really good at data and tech stuff. we'll just go right through that. Wow, it's getting louder. They
Just
really
pull
need you
my
to be
mic
there.
down while you're talking.
Okay.
You could do that.
So this person is new to Washington, and I thought this was fascinating because she, being part of DOGE, had not been a part of the system. And she said, it's amazing to watch. And I don't know that you've been here long enough for this, but I just thought it was an interesting perspective, and I figured you could comment on it. That she said, there's so many people that I meet, both sides of the aisle, that they're Washington insiders. Influence is the name of the game, getting along with people, both sides of the aisle. It's kind of bipartisan, except when it comes to public, then they're very nonpartisan, or they're very partisan. But that there are a certain group of people in Washington who just do not want to be a part of that system. And a lot of those people are running the country right now, and that's odd. I know you haven't been there that long, but I figured you could say something about that.
So, what's your question then specifically?
It's just that, are you noticing that some of the people you're talking to, are they saying, yeah, it can't be business as usual because we have a different administration now than we really have ever had? It's always been Washington insiders until now.
I think that the whole message of the 100 days is that this is nowhere near business as usual. I mean, honestly, I don't think in my lifetime America has seen the opportunity that exists in front of it right now the way it does right now. That doesn't mean we're going to get there. They got to see it through. I spoke with Senator Schmidt and Congressman Bost, both opportunities that you guys will get to see here on the Manny Fry Show today or tomorrow or this week for sure. And they both talked about making sure the tax cuts get made permanent. Now, the date that's on the calendar right now, there's a pin in the July 4th recess that they're going to get those tax cuts made permanent then, but they got to get the job done. And I think the most powerful thing that exists about this moment in time is that there is a clear mandate that the Trump policy, the Trump doctrine, if you will, is the way we're going to do this thing. So if you as a legislator differ a little bit from what Trump wants to accomplish, there is a buy-in across the board that suggests, okay, maybe this isn't what I would have done specifically, but I'm going to compromise and give a little bit here for the clear mandate that Donald Trump had when he won the presidency. So I literally pray that Donald Trump is able to accomplish the things that he has said he's going to accomplish, because I think about my kids' future. I think about, this is something I spoke with the senator about today, is the idea of the American dream. And I'll tell you, this is the question I was going to ask today in the briefing. This is what I have written down. When the greatest generation and the baby boomers were coming of age, there was an idea of an American dream. The administration has committed to transformational and generational economic reform for Americans. For today's younger generations and younger parents who've long struggled to afford basic goods due to rising costs, economic downturns, and consistent struggle to make ends meet alone to get ahead. If the president's tax cuts, DOGE cuts, and tariffs are successful, what does the administration believe that today's parents can hope for in an American dream for their children? So I think that we talked about this a long time ago, but if the tariffs bring back manufacturing and jobs and production to this country, when I think of the greatest generation and the boomers, I think of people who are really proud to go to work, to be independent, to make a living, to grow the experience and the success that they have. I mean, think about our parents and our grandparents. Those people were proud of the independence that they provided their family and the security they provided for their family. And when you think about it, it's kind of much simpler than what we think about providing for our families right now. But people were able to do it. And, I'll speak for a lot of the moms out there. A lot of moms stayed home, and somehow or another, you could still have a nice home, provide meals for your family, security for your family on a single income. People appreciated jobs. People appreciated work. We have grown up, if you're like me and you're in your 40s, we've kind of grown up in this slow decay of victimhood. And, I think about, there we go again. You know what? You want me to finish this thought on the other side of this break?
No, I want you to finish it now.
Okay, you want me to go in between the beeps?
No, I just want you to talk through it.
I could do it. I just don't know how distracting it is. I think that when we look forward to the future and we think about people appreciating the things that are hard that result in the things that are good, instead of people just whining about the things that are hard and demanding the things that are good. If we could get back to that idea of investing in yourself, working your tail off and reaping the benefits of it, I think that's on the other side of a successful tariff strategy that brings business and manufacturing and production back to the United States. And I mean, to me, that's a cultural thing. That's an ideology. That's a sense of pride in what America, made in America, being in America. I feel like looking back on our lives, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, that there's been a deterioration in the idea of being proud of who we are. And I'm so ready to be back to that place where America, where we stand tall, we stand together, Democrats, Republicans alike, somewhere in the middle. And we just are proud to be who we are and not ashamed to say it.
It's being reported pretty often now how much more conservative Gen Z is than previous young generations. That seems to be the cultural shift that you're talking about. It would have to happen that way.
Well, and if the people who are coming of age post-COVID, I mean, there's a generation of people who saw what government is capable of doing during COVID. They lost something that they will that will shape the rest of their lives. This, what COVID and over-regulatory government did. It will be really interesting to see the success of the Trump policies should we reach the other side here, along with that real tangible understanding of what big government over regulatory government can do. I mean, we could be making America great again. You know?
What? What?
Yeah. I felt like I had to say that. I'm in the Capitol.
I was hoping, you know, when the beeps first started, I thought that Brad was trying to push us out of a segment with the song Sweet Emotion, because the tone is about the same. Be sweet. But he wasn't.
Next time it starts doing that, I'll just go into Aerosmith song.
Go into Steven Tyler fully. Let's take a break, and then Annie, let's come back and talk, you know, just about what your last 24 hours have been like. Just catch up on some of the things you saw yesterday and this morning.
There's some questions too that I've starred on the YouTube live chat. I can maybe answer. You guys can pop up some of those. We can answer some of the listener questions if they want to hop on the Manny Fry Show YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and then leave a comment or a question or whatever. And Brad and Brian, maybe you can throw some of those at me.
Let's do it. We'll be right back with more Manny Fry. Annie Goes to Washington here on the Manny Fry Show.
You're listening to the Manny Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Camping season is here, and so is the Apache Village RV Open House. Join us Friday, May 2nd and Saturday, May 3rd at two great locations, 9001 Dunn Road in Hazelwood and 971 Wilmer Road in Wentzville. Apache Village RV, family owned for over 50 years, is here to help you hit the road and make lifelong memories. Explore 200 plus new and used RVs from Jayco, Keystone, Fleetwood, and Bontrager Outdoors. And right now is the best time to buy. Tariffs are pushing the 2026 prices up, but 2024s and 2025s are still at the lowest prices of the year. With payments starting at just $160 a month with approved credit, your next adventure is closer than ever. Enjoy free food, drinks, door prices, and huge savings all weekend. Mention this 97.1 ad and get a shot at $500 to the Apache Village Parts Store. Apache Village RV, where your journey begins the moment you walk through the door. Go one better. Go Apache Village RV.
Mark Cox here. Join me, Manny Fry, and Mark Reardon, along with Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw of the Retirement Advisory Group for the next Protecting Your Retirement educational event. It's Tuesday, May 20th at the Frontenac Hilton at 6:30. Here are Bob and Thomas with more.
Are you nearing retirement or already retired and worried about the market volatility and losses at this stage in your life? Would you like to learn why linking to the market is much safer than owning the market?
Would you like to learn how to automatically lock in your market gains every year without having to sell? Did you also know if you're 59 and a half or older, you can roll over your company retirement plan tax-free to protect your nest egg from any future losses? You'll get all the answers and more. If you're 59 and a half or older, you cannot afford to miss this event.
Protect your retirement nest egg and join the official financial advisors of my show, Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw, at the Frontenac Hilton on Tuesday, May 20th at 6:30 p.m. Go to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Gain peace of mind that your flooring and carpet installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's Flooring Outlet. They give all their clients attentive personal service, even bring toys for the kids of the household. It's a family-owned and operated business for 25 plus years. They make sure you make the right choice for your home. So if you have carpets or hard floors, you're going to be happy for years to come. 3 convenient locations in St. Charles County, 116 Main Street, in Old Town St. Peters at Mid Rivers and Highway 70, in West County on Olive, and the store in Darden Prairie. Michael's Flooring Outlet, igotfloor.com.
Celebrate April with store-wide savings on all in-stock jewelry at the Diamond Shop, located at 12 North Central in Clayton. The Diamond Shop, making St. Louis sparkle for over 100 years. Stop in today.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
The YouTube live chat poll today is, will the next 100 days have more victories, less victories, about the same, or there haven't been any victories, which exists kind of outside those three? Let us know what you think about that, and then log on. We're going to be taking a couple questions for Annie, who's live in DC during this next segment. A few of them starred, so you can get yours in if you'd like to ask a question right now. It is 12:47. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
To be young and in love in New York City. To not know who I am, but still know that I'm good long as you're here with me. To be drunk and in love in New York
Well, Annie,
City.
we have people asking you questions from St. Louis about your trip to DC and where you are right now. Let's start with this one just because it's happening at the moment. Annie, whose office are you camping out in?
I am in Congressman Mike Bost's office, a very nice one. He chairs the Veterans Affairs Committee, so he has a lot of staff, a lot of responsibilities too. And so he had to go to a meeting, and then I think it was a lunch meeting, and then I think he has to go to vote. That's what we keep hearing the buzzer for, I believe. And so I'm hanging out here. He offered it up, and I was like, that would be so amazing. Originally, I was thinking I was going to throw up the mobile hotspot on my phone and go sit on like the Capitol Hill steps or something like that and do this. But this has been such a blessing. I was really grateful for the opportunity to be in here.
So I have a question here from Info Dude. He said, Annie,
Hi, Info.
Curious, being in Washington, D.C., how does this compare to what your original career path was going to be whenever you wanted to be a sideline type reporter?
Oh, back to the sports days. That's an interesting question because, I think everybody kind of want to work in something that they love and that entertains them and interesting to them. And sports always was really where a lot of my focus was as a student athlete going through high school. I quit doing the sports broadcast or the sports media thing because it turned out if my trajectory was going to stay on the right path, I was going to end up working a lot of nights and weekends because that's when the big games are. And so I got into news. News is 24/7, of course. And I've always had, and I still have this thought in my mind, because I cover it all the time. You know, a lot of times you pay a lot of attention to something, you're like, oh, I wonder if I could do that job. The idea of being an elected official, potentially being in Washington, D.C. I mean, that idea has crossed my mind before. I've had some interest in it, but with a young family, that looks really hard. And being up here, I realize how much I love what I do right now. The ability to have 3 hours of, I mean, that's the thing. And I hope Ryan and Brad, you guys feel the same way, but like, as much as we're doing work and covering news and having to stay on top of everything, we have so much fun every day for 3 hours, just having the silliest conversations. And we know we have such great relationships with the YouTube live chat. So it's like the three of us in this room having a conversation. There's usually another 150 people on the live chat on YouTube. And then there's the thousands of people in the St. Louis area that are listening to us, that come up and talk to me, come up and talk to you guys about, oh, it was so funny when, and then they fill in the blank here. And you're like, I laughed all the way home. They'll say like, I really needed that. And it makes me realize, at least from any sort of like congressional hopes that I would ever potentially have, however big those are, to help people, that I think that what we're doing really does help people, because this is like 24/7 intense, heavy stuff, which we do on 97.1 and we do on the Manny Fry Show, but we have a responsibility to help people exhale too. And I think I have an extra appreciation for the idea that we get to talk about this stuff and pay attention to the stuff that matters, but have fun while we're doing it.
There's another question here. Do you ever get tired of people telling you, I love you, you're so smart? I do. That was from me. I didn't say it was from a listener. That was from me. Let me ask you a listener question now.
Are you saying you get tired of people telling me that they love me, or that they love you?
You can take that however you want it. I don't care.
I got an idea.
Officer Gary says, Annie, was Tom Homan intimidating in person?
Let me put it this way. I agree with everything Tom Homan is doing, and I think it's about darn time that somebody says the things that he says. I haven't done anything wrong to my knowledge, so I wasn't intimidated by him, but like, I could imagine that he would not be the person you'd want to see walk in the door in the event that you knew that you were in trouble.
This is a terrible question. I shouldn't ask you this, but is he a pretty big guy too?
Yeah, he's huge.
Is he?
Like,
I thought he was.
Yeah, he's tall. I mean, Bessant is super long and I would say lean, but I mean, to me, Homan looks like a guy that was cast to do his job. I mean, he just looks like a no BS type of guy who it's not about like he values his work or believes in his work. He enjoys his work, and he knows that God put him on this earth to do the job he's doing, and he has decided to do it very well.
I was going to say, it's like a calling for Tom Homan, that he's just walking out what he was created to do. This one is about your experience a little bit more. This is from Kate. She says, what's been your favorite thing about the trip so far to DC?
It's hard to tell. I think I may answer that question differently, like on Friday, after I've had to have, like active mind. You know what it's like to, like, you're going through life and there are some things, like, for instance, you can drive home and never really think about the roads that you're driving on, but it's 30 minutes of your day or whatever it might be. This 100% of the time that my eyes are open, I'm like actively thinking about what I need to do right now, what I need to do next. So that's been like drinking from a fire hose, but just being able to see the other side of something that I pay attention to every single day, man, I think it's pretty, it's just been, the whole thing has been cool.
So the answer to the question, your favorite thing about the trip so far, is that it's been like the movie Limitless with Bradley Cooper. The next question, also from Kate, similar, but a little bit different. Biggest surprise of the trip so far?
I think the biggest surprise was like at being a member of, not a member, because there's like, I'm probably not using correct vocabulary, but being able to go in and participate in the White House press pool and everything, how the American representation in the press, they have so much access and responsibility and freedom in this area to move about. I mean, how amazing is it that on the White House lawn, on the literal other side of the driveway of the White House, is a whole row of networks who have praise to offer the administration for policies they're putting in, and the next tent over, great dissension in what the administration is doing. I mean, like, how American is it to know that you can have all of these people and you know, the man making a lot of the decisions from the executive branch is meters away from the people who could be criticizing him significantly for the things that he's doing. And that's the same way as it was when the Biden administration was in the White House. That's really, really cool. And I'm just amazed at how much, I'm just kind of amazed to see how it works. It's not like super managed in the sense that of the press to be there and be on the premises and to cover all of these things.
I would think more so even with this president too, right? Because he's just so available randomly.
Yeah, it keeps people on their toes for sure.
Okay, last question for you before we got to get to the top of the hour here from Vicky. Do you see more trips to DC in your future?
Now would be a great time to thank Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric for working with us to make this, you know, an opportunity for the station as a whole. I really couldn't have done this without them. You know, I would have been doing it on my own dime. And when Stu is like, if this helps you, Annie, I'm gonna do this. I mean, I'm really super grateful to it. A lot of it has to do with what you all in the YouTube chat think. Like, provide us the feedback of, you know, if I can come on the show and if I can go somewhere and still participate in the show this way and turn around. Like, I think you guys are going to get to watch Eric Schmidt in the next hour, maybe the 2:00 hour, maybe an interview from Congressman Bost as well. I would love this opportunity to be able to continue to do this. And if people want to, if there are folks listening right now who would like to sponsor another trip for me to go somewhere or do something, AnnieFryShow.com, get in contact.
Well, Annie, stay connected with us as much as you can, but also don't miss out on anything. Like, be sure to take full advantage of your time in DC, and then we will continue to air some of that content and maybe even connect with you later today. So stick around. This is the Manny Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
RulerFoods.com. Everything I say about Ruler Foods, you can probably just go to the website and skip listening to me, which I don't want you to do, but you can at RulerFoods.com. They have a 5 for $5 sale going on right now between work, school pickup, practices. Who's got time to plan meals? Busy families. Ruler Foods has your back. That definitely is the case for our family with their Snack, Dine, and Save 5 for $5 event. Finally, affordable solutions that save time and money. Stock up on Banquet Pot Pies, Kroger Pudding Snacks, Michelina's Entrees. Grab Kroger 3-minute microwave pizzas for quick lunches and Kroger snack medleys for those car rides between activities. Everybody always wants snacks. And then I realized I kind of would like a snack too, and I can afford it because I went to the 5 for $5 sale at Ruler Foods. You deserve a break. Let Ruler Foods take the burden, give you some of your time and your money back, of course, and save on your grocery bill. Delivery available online also. Go to rulerfoods.com.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. Injured by a careless driver? We work with the top doctors in St. Louis. We'll help you get the expert medical care you need and the maximum amount of money you deserve. Call 314-500-5000.
It's time to get outside and enjoy the great outdoors. Mark Cox here from my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck, where they've got a great deal for you right now. Mention Mark when you call them, and you're going to get 20% off your next outdoor project, and the options are just about limitless. They will help you design your project if you already know what you want in your backyard, or they'll bring a digital photo gallery and let you see maybe what your neighbors have been doing, and then you can go in and you can pick the project that works best for you. Maybe it's a new sunroom, maybe it is a pergola, a patio, the retaining walls. The list is long. You're going to love working with my friends at Chesterfield Fence and Deck. They are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. They have financing options available with up to 60 months at 0 interest. And right now, remember, you get that 20% off when you reach out and tell them Mark Cox sent you. All you have to do is go online today to Chesterfield Fence
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for New Perspective Senior Living, where your loved one will enjoy chef-prepared meals, engaging activities, state-of-the-art technology, and a welcoming community that feels like home. Visit npseniorliving.com to schedule a tour today. New Perspective, where every day is a chance to live life on purpose.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health from Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health from Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill, or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
A crowd's gathering in Michigan. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The battleground state where President Trump will mark the first 100 days of his second term. Fox's Peter Ducey in Warren, Michigan.
We haven't seen a Trump rally since Inauguration Day when they had to move it in Washington, D.C. because it was so cold. But it's a lovely day here outside Detroit, and there are a ton of people. So I think we might just go ask some folks what it is that they liked the most about the first 100 days. Anything that you liked more than the rest of the stuff?
Closing our border. The president will rally at a community college after visiting a National Guard base. Democrats in Congress call the first 100 days a disaster.
In my district, no one has escaped the harmful impact of Trump tariffs and isolation policy or his indiscriminate cuts to federal workers.
Maryland Congresswoman April McClain Delaney. Republicans are working on tax cuts and spending cuts as part of the Trump agenda to fuel U.S. growth and lower costs. Former Georgia Senator David Perdue is confirmed by the Senate to be the next U.S. ambassador to China.
While he's previously called President Xi Jinping a modern-day emperor who wants to destroy capitalism and democracy, he told Florida Senator Rick Scott during his confirmation hearing a few weeks ago that China has two problems: youth unemployment and a need to import 30% of its food.
If foreign capital from the U.S. stops going into China, they have a real problem.
If we stop buying their product, what will happen?
Well,
the American public says enough's enough. What will happen to their economy?
It'll collapse.
Perdue, who was once president of Reebok and the CEO of Dollar General stores, has lived in parts of Europe and Asia, including Hong Kong.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. Perdue winning some bipartisan support. The confirmation vote was 67-29. Just getting word of a mass shooting in Sweden. 3 people killed around the city center of Uppsala near Stockholm just before the start of a spring celebration. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The atmosphere is quite moist and juicy, and we're looking for another batch of rain and thunderstorms to develop mid to late afternoon, especially to our south. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of clouds and sunshine, windy at 75. Some showers and thunderstorms around tonight. Wednesday, showers and some thunderstorms, 76, and still kind of wet on Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Land Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit LanceDruryLaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Step outside and fall in love with your backyard again. From inviting porch overhangs to durable composite decks and cozy screen rooms, Lakeside Renovation and Design creates stunning outdoor living spaces designed for relaxation, entertaining, and making memories. With expert craftsmanship and top-quality materials, your new outdoor oasis will be perfect for every season. Call Lakeside Renovation and Design today or visit lakesiderd.com to get started. Let's turn your backyard into the retreat you've always dreamed of.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go. And that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
Right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong, I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Manny Fry Show.
What the president wants to do, ceasefire, sea, air, land, infrastructure for a minimum of 30 days, and then we can extend that. He's absolutely right. The president has this one right on the money. And that's where we want to go to. And when you look at everything the Ukrainians are willing to work with, now it's over to the Russians, over to Putin. Okay, we've got one side. Now you need to come up the other side. And I think we're close.
Well, the world saw an image of the president of Ukraine sitting down with the president of the United States, Donald Trump, in a big, ornate room at the Pope's funeral recently. And Jim Carafano is here to talk about world events with us. Jim, thanks for being here.
You know, I think that photo is going to be one of the iconic pictures of the 21st century. And it says so much about Donald Trump. And I think something that people just don't appreciate. Look, Trump doesn't like Zelensky. I mean, just personally, on a personal level, it's very clear that he did not warm up to him the way he's warmed up to leaders like Modi and Milei and Maloney. But the one thing that Donald Trump has always been consistent with, first term, second term, it doesn't matter, is, you know, Trump has instincts but when he believes that it's important for the country, it doesn't matter if he likes it or not, if it's his instinct or not, he's going to do the thing that's in the best interest of the country. And it is in the best interest of the country to try to end this war and to support a free and independent Ukraine. And so he will sit down with this man knee to knee because he knows that it's the right thing to do. And to be honest with you, and I am a religious person, so what can I say? The fact that happened in the panic, where it did in the cathedral, really suggests to me that this country has been blessed by God. We have a leader. He may not be perfect. He may not say everything you like. He may not even always be right. But I'll tell you one thing is, he is there for one reason, which is to take care of the American people to the best of his abilities. And we are blessed to have that.
Yeah, you're right. that is a moment in time, especially depending on how this thing plays out, that if people can look to that and say, wow, things really changed after that conversation, maybe there was some divine intervention going on here. But Jim, do you think there's a point at which, like you said, he doesn't really like Zelensky, definitely doesn't like Putin. Is there a point at which he says, okay, then you guys solve it, because I keep trying to bring you to the table and you're not doing anything?
Well, I mean, you can't walk away from Ukraine. And I think it's very clear that the U.S. isn't going to do that, because it's not in our interest to do that. It's not in our interest to see Putin take over Ukraine, to see all those people die, to see Europe completely destabilized, to see that all of Europe would be an open running ground for Russia and China. There's no benefit to us for that happens. So that's unlikely, particularly because it's actually not that big a lift for the United States. Look, we're not going to World War III. It's not going to be a nuclear war. The Europeans are actually picking up more of the responsibility. Ukrainians are building their own defense industry. They went from $1 billion a year to have a $15 billion a year defense industry already. It's not a heavy lift for us to continue to support Ukraine. And it is draining on the Russians. And it's not just Ukraine. What the president's doing, the price of oil, what he's doing to push back on the Chinese and on the Iranians. And I'm just guessing that the phone call to North Korea saying, you guys, you probably want to stop doing this. I believe that phone call is coming. So I don't think there are good days ahead for the Russians.
Has Putin, to you, Jim, shown any sign that you're like, oh, there's a good sign that maybe he's starting to negotiate or back off, or maybe there's an end in sight?
Yeah, one thing. But I will tell you, Putin has, I like Putin. I hate the guy, but he's always consistent. So Putin wants something for nothing, and he will continue to bluff and push and lie until he realizes he's nothing else to get, and then he might make a deal. But so I tell you one interesting tidbit, which to me might mean something, which is the Russians have started to move troops back up to the border with Finland. They basically took troops from everywhere to throw them into Ukraine. And so the fact that they're dispersing them again might suggest that they're giving up on Ukraine. But that's the only data point I have. But we'll see.
Jim Carafano is Senior Counselor to the President, E.W. Richardson Fellow for International Engagement at the Heritage Foundation. Last time we were talking to you, Iran was a little bit more in the news than it has been the last week or so. Has there been any developments with the U.S. and Iran and the Middle East in general?
Look, I'm not super expecting the Iranians to come and make a deal, because that the president was pretty clear. A deal is you give up your nuclear weapons program. I'm not sure the regime's willing to do that. They are really interested in the survival of the regime. I think it's much more likely that they hunker down and ride this out than they give up their nuclear program. That's not to say that they become a nuclear state. You have to remember, and something people really don't get, this is not about technical ability. Iran can be a nuclear power any day it wants to. All it has to do is say, I'm a nuclear weapons power. It has everything it needs to put a nuclear weapon together. It's a political decision. It's not a technical decision. So Iran would only make the decision to say, hey, I'm a nuclear power, when they believe that it was in their interest to do so. And I think the more pressure we put on them, the more likely they're saying, there's no benefit for us to do this, because as soon as we do this, then we're done. That threat is gone. So I think the Ayatollahs are more likely to of the world are more likely to say, let's hold on to that card for now. And because the one thing we don't want to do is risk an attack from Israel or the United States, and with something that we're not prepared for. So that's my guess, but we'll see what happens.
This is a bigger picture question, but I remember even back during George W. Bush days, listening to both pundits and preachers saying, look, they're trying to wait out Iran. There's war in the Middle East, especially during G.W. Bush's term, but they're trying to wait out Iran because the people of the country don't like the leadership of the country. But here we are, is roughly 20 years later, and it doesn't seem like that's ever happened.
Well, it is true that the people of Iran would be happy to see these yahoos gone. but they don't have the army. The mullahs have the army. Look, we waited out Russia and the Soviets in the Cold War, and that took a really, really long time. So honestly, waiting out is not a bad strategy as long as you can protect your interests. I mean, the problem with Biden is we weren't waiting out the Iranians. We were letting them run wild through the Middle East. They had Houthis bombing everybody. They had the Hamas attacking Israel. They had Hezbollah attacking Israel. I mean, they were setting the region on fire. That's not waiting out the Iranians. That's letting the lunatics out of the asylum.
Right.
So put the lunatics back in the asylum and then let them be loony.
One of the things Trump says over and over and over, I mean, to the point that you're like, okay, I know you've said it many, many times, is anytime they bring up Ukraine or Iran or Israel, he says this would have never happened if I had been in office for the last 4 years. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind. And there's no question in my mind that all those enemies know there's a new sheriff in town. And they're just right now trying to figure out how to survive the next 3.5 years of Donald Trump. Keeping their head down.
There's a clip that I think we played earlier today that it's Scott Bessant talking economically, but the same principle would apply, that he's using strategic uncertainty in the negotiations, which I guess that does affect national interests and foreign policy as well. But that seems to be Trump's MO across the board.
I don't think it's uncertain. I don't think there's any uncertainty to this. The guy's got cards to play, and he's willing to throw them down. That's certain. You're making a bet. Is he going to throw that card down or not? Good luck with that, my friend. But I don't find any uncertainty in Trump's strategy at all.
Well, that would be the uncertainty, though, right? It would be is he gonna call the bluff? That would be the.
Well, there's no uncertainty in poker because unless you're cheating, right? Because the rules are the rules, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it works the same way.
Let's move on to I guess a little bit more of a domestic front. Not quite here, but Canada had some elections yesterday. This is a weird election, and a lot of people saying yes, absolutely, Trump is the deciding factor in the Canadian election. True or false?
I don't know. It is true. I don't think Trump weakened the conservatives. What Trump helped do is he did unite the opposition, because rather than vote for a bunch of different candidates, they all piled on this guy. I mean, I think Canadian voters made a horrible mistake. But it's their decision. To the end, it's not Trump's fault. It's their fault. They made a bad decision. But I will say that, look, Canada is going to do the right thing in the end because it's sitting next to the United States and it really doesn't have a choice. So in the end, no matter who the Canadian Prime Minister is, they're going to be pragmatic about their relationship with the United States, just like the President of Mexico is in the end. Rhetoric, blah, blah, politics, your favorite taco sauce aside, doesn't matter. In the end, they're going to have to play ball with the United States because they really don't have a choice.
Jim, we're getting into a little bit economics here, but they all cross over so much. But has Trump really kind of cornered China? I mean, not China, but Canada in a way, China too, for that matter, that they really don't have a lot of options. Is he playing this wise enough that he's saying, look, I know what your options are. Here's what they are. You choose which one it is, but I've got you cornered.
Well, it's not Trump's fault. They don't have any options. They basically, basically what they have is an export economy that's dependent on the United States, and which is fine as long as the United States buys stuff. Then they go off like a drunken sailor, and they waste everything in their economy. They don't develop it. They don't do the right policies, and they make themselves weak and completely dependent on us and on our largesse. We didn't put them in that situation. It's just like you run up your credit cards. The credit card company didn't make you do that. You decided. And then you say, I have no options. The credit card company's like, okay, you should have put all that stuff on a credit card.
Right, yeah. And since I mentioned China, let's talk about them too.
But Canada's pathetic, right?
Okay.
Here is a beautiful country with all the resources in the universe and was actually one of the most liberal in a good sense, not best places to live in the world. And liberal governments ran the country into the ground. And then they vote to bring these guys back. It's just nuts.
So with China, similar situation. Has he boxed them in, or is it there's probably a lot more going on because China's so big?
Well, look, China, Iran, and Russia all have one thing in common, which is their foreign policy is they'll only be better off in the world if we get rid of the United States. And when that's your only option, you're going to try to find a way to do that. So it doesn't matter how much your economy is crippled or ruined, or you can't do this, they're going to try to find a way to poke at us. This is exactly what the Soviets did up until the moment the Soviet Union collapsed. So if you were tired of Rocky 1, 2, and 3, there's going to be a Rocky 4, 5, and 6 because some Yahoo is going to get in the ring and try to punch your face in. That's just the reality of it. The Chinese are not going to stop being the Chinese.
Last question for you before I run out of time here, Jim Carafano. Is all of this blustering back and forth between the U.S. and pretty much any other nation saying, yeah, we're close to a deal. Oh, no, we're not close to a deal. We don't like what they're doing. We don't like each other. Is that all part of the process? I mean, are we really closer than we think we are?
Yeah. Have you never been married before?
I have. My first wife will tell you all about it. I'm still married to her.
Right. This is the way it goes. Yeah. It's people are actually, this is what's called making a deal, which is both sides are trying to get, the most out of it they can before they sign the bottom line. That's all.
Yeah.
I'd be disappointed in a country that didn't try to do that.
I was hoping to hear some big announcements here on day 100 of the Trump administration, but I guess we're not going to get any big trade deals today.
I think the big trade deal thing is irrelevant. I mean, I think he's already I think most of the uncertainty of the trade policy is already out there. And I think people have baked that in, and they know that in the end, we are resetting the global order. We're doing a new way of doing things, but the uncertainty of that the whole thing is going to collapse into the depression, I think, is over. So as a story, I think this is over. To me, this is like going and watching them change the oil in your car. I mean, it's important. It needs to get done. The car can't run without it, but that's not where the exciting things are going to happen in the world.
Yeah, we're not going to put the title of your interview as changing the oil in your car. We're going to say resetting the global order because that's much more exciting.
Yeah, right. That'll get you more eyeballs.
Exactly. Jim Carafano, thank you so much for your time as usual and your expertise. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. And did you catch that, producers? That's a great title for that interview. Resetting the global order. It really is happening. I mean, we're joking, but I heard somebody say, and it really stuck with me, that this is the biggest change in national and foreign policy since World War II. We are completely redoing our relationships with everybody in the world, and people will talk, just like we talk about World War II in an economic sense, we will talk about the Trump administration, probably even the second term of Trump, as that moment. Yeah. Oh, well, ever since Trump, blah, blah, blah. That's what economic conversations will look like in the future. Let's take a short break. We are connecting still constantly with Annie Fry. We knew Jim was going to be here for that segment, but Annie is sending us content actively throughout this show because she's interviewing multiple lawmakers. She's already sat down with Senator Eric Schmidt. And are we good to go with that?
I think we can make that happen for next segment.
So I think we're going to play that interview that she just did a couple hours ago with Senator Eric Schmidt in Washington, D.C. right here on the Manny Fry Show next.
This is the Manny Fry Show. The Manny Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
What you say to me, I believe.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6986. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6986. That's 800-575-6986. Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
I don't know if you heard with them, these energy mandates. Luckily, this year they stopped the continuation of this government mandates, but the new refrigerants did not stop, so that is out. So be careful, buyer beware on what you're purchasing. If you're looking for a new system and just want a common sense approach to picking a system, i.e., are you going to save money? Is your energy bills going down? All the stuff that we've been hearing for about the last 25 years. Bottom line is, when it comes to the efficiencies, it's going to be your house. I only have 60 seconds to do this in, so if you want a common sense approach and you are looking at purchasing a system or getting price on systems, please call me. It's one easy number, Missouri and Illinois. It's 314-293-2600. 314-293-2600, or on the internet is bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
We, without hesitation, recommend that anybody work with ThrottleNet. The experience will be as good as it's been for us, for anybody, because you'll get a true partnership and you'll be able to rest easy that you're going to get the service that you need, while they're also doing all those things that you don't want to have to think about, that you don't want to have to worry about. They're always doing that in the background for you.
Don't wait for your next IT crisis. If your business depends on technology, you need a partner that's got your back. Contact ThrottleNet.com to get a free IT evaluation and see how we can support your IT everything.
I put money into real estate, and from there came one of my largest returns on one of our properties, which is about close to 300% return in about 14 months.
That's Joe Cantu on what Lifestyles Unlimited has done for him. Join Del Walmsley and Lifestyles Unlimited for Expo 2025, May 7th through the 10th in Irving, Texas. Get hands-on training from successful investors and learn proven strategies that work. Save $100 when you text EXPO to 88007, EXPO to 88007.
It's Customer Appreciation Savings Event at Ruler Foods, and we're saying thank you with our biggest discounts of the season. From April 23rd through April 29th, enjoy unbeatable savings on fresh berries, 16-ounce juicy strawberries, and pint plump blueberries for only $1.99. Stock up on Kroger 80% lean ground beef for $3.33 a pound, sold in a 3-pound roll. Pair it with Hunt's pasta sauce and hamburger helper for quick family meals that won't break the bank. These customer appreciation deals are our way of saying thanks to you, our loyal Ruler Foods shoppers. For more details, rulerfoods.com. You're listening to the Manny Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Save now with 2024 pricing and Carrier Cool Cash rebates up to $1,700 on a new HVAC system. For details, visit aircomfortservice.com.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric. This is the Annie Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Annie Fry Show.
Oh, what a night. Late December back in 63.
Annie Fry, the host of the Annie Fry Show, is in Washington, D.C. just yesterday and today. She'll be back tomorrow, although we hope she makes it in for the show. She's coming in like at 10:30. So if there's any delay in flight, she's going to be walking in during her own show. I'll be ready to step in at the beginning. We'll see. That's going to be very, very late breaking, just like everything that's happening right now on the Annie Fry Show. In fact, Annie got a chance to sit down with Missouri Senator Eric Schmidt in Washington, D.C. Now, this happened right before we were set to go live. So I don't know that any of us have actually heard this yet. We're going to listen to it along with you. Here's Annie with Senator Eric Schmidt.
So we are sitting in Senator Eric Schmidt's office. And as I was saying, my adopted Senator Eric Schmidt, thank you for the time today.
Glad to have you as an adopted constituent and then here in the swamp, I guess. Right? So.
How much different is it? I don't know how often you've been coming to Washington, D.C. outside of course, being the Attorney General for the state of Missouri. How familiar does Washington, D.C. feel for you compared to St. Louis, Missouri?
It's a foreign land. I really had not spent much time in D.C. at all because I was in state politics and Attorney General. We would come here for a big announcement or maybe some meetings or something when I was AG, but very much kind of like you were here, maybe for a day or two and then you went back. So, being here this amount of time, I think is new. And when I was sworn in back 2 years ago, I think I had only been in the Capitol one time in my whole life.
Wow.
And so, so you get sworn.
Take a tour?
Yeah. It literally took a while to figure out where the bathrooms were, but my whole family came up and it was just a really special day, the swearing in and all that. And, being sworn in as the 2000th senator of all time on the dot, which was kind of interesting. But yeah, so, being here now for a couple of years, you certainly know your way around a little bit more. And then being in the majority now, has certainly changed things from my first 2 years, but I love this job. But I go back and forth every week. So
I see you travel a lot.
Yeah.
You go back to see your family.
Yeah.
I see you participating in your kids' events. I can't help but reflect when I'm here. I have 4 kids about what the lifestyle is and the demand of what you have to do to serve the people of the state of Missouri and balance that with family. How do you do it?
That's the hardest part. My kids I have Steven, who's 20, with special needs. I've talked about that a bunch. And then a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old daughter. So the most important job I'll ever have is being Jamie's husband and my kid's dad. So you just try to balance it all. So when I'm home, I'm like volleyball dad for Olivia and helping Sophia with projects. She's a junior in high school. So I love that. And so I get up here as close to the first vote as I can on Monday, and then when we're done at the end of the week, I get back as fast as I can. So.
All right, let me ask you a dad question. You said it's the most important thing you do, and I'm saying this from personal experience. Last week, kid is late on getting a project done. They need a late night trip to Walmart to get a poster board or something like that. Are you the dad that stays up and cares about that final grade and going to help make that come to fruition? Or is that like life lesson time?
No, I would help. I don't know if that's a weakness or a strength. I don't really know. I don't really know.
Because I'm like, the grade matters.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm like,
yeah, I think, so I will help. But then there's a lesson that comes with that too. Is like, hey, you can't wait till the last minute on these things. Knowing, by the way, that I'm sure I did that a bunch. And then even as a practicing lawyer, deadlines exist because that's the deadline, and usually kind of wait until you get close to the deadline because the other thing's going on. But I don't know. I just try to be as present for them as possible. And I'm actually coming now to the very weird realization that, my time with them in the house, at least the 2 girls, is limited. It's not going to be long before.
That's heavy.
It is. And when they're young, you don't really, I didn't at least think about it in those terms. And so you just try to make the most of it. And I try to, talk to them about what I do, but also try to, I don't make this job like everything at home. Like I can't do it. I watch Cardinal games and get around and visit with people. But I think you got to make sure that they know that they're your priority when you're there.
Yeah.
And so being present with them is really important to me. And I try not to like inundate their life with the political. I want them to have as normal of a life as possible. And they've done a really good job with it. It's funny, they see the ads and all that stuff when you're running, and you don't really know how they're going to react to that. But
how do they react to it?
Well, they call them hate commercials, and they would say, "Dad, there's a lot of hate commercials about you right now."
Yeah.
But I'm their dad, and that's how they see me, and that's how I want them to see me. And so, we have just normal dad-daughter conversations, and and it's not really about this other stuff.
I
So
think I get a little bit of that from being a public figure in the news media, that people don't like something I said, then they make a deal out of it. Or my husband can be a little more worked up about it than my kids, but they're old enough now too that they see some of it. And I just think it's another opportunity to teach your kids that, listen, not everyone's going to like you, but what do you stand for? And if you stand for something, they're going to be people who feel differently. And some people don't handle it well.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the deal. And you do things for the right reasons and make good decisions. And then, and I think honestly, my time as Attorney General probably really drove that point home for me from a leadership perspective, because these were the COVID times, and it was just sort of like you still look back and you can't believe they're boarding up basketball hoops and putting police tape around playgrounds.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt like even in the face of a lot of pressure to do otherwise, on the mask mandates or the vaccine mandates, I mean, we really led the charge on that. And at the time, if you go back in time, that was controversial. And now everybody most people still see it for what it was, but I think there are a lot of lessons to be learned there. I also think, just as a dad, you get people, there's the good and the bad, and you get people that certainly I appreciate, say hello and thanks. And I think, just handling yourself in those situations, because the kids, they're always watching, right? And so making sure you say thank you, and waiters and waitresses are yes sir and yes ma'am, and that's how I was brought up, and those are the kind of lessons I want to teach them, and it has nothing to do with politics.
It's way more important than politics. Politics is so much downstream. I know we have limited time with you, so I want to talk to you about the 100 days mark for the president's administration. You've served under a Biden administration, and you've served under a Trump administration. And I was at the press briefing this morning.
Congrats, by the way. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. That was wild. And Secretary Bessant was there. And if I had the opportunity to ask the question, I was going to ask him about the American dream, because I think boomers and the greatest generation had this idea of an American dream. Something changed. I was born in the 80s. I'm in my 40s now. I think that if the Trump administration gets the tax cuts made permanent, the DOGE cuts and spending reined in, made permanent, and if the tariffs work out the way he says they're going to work out, that there's kind of a revival of an American dream that I don't think that millennials like me, I don't think they think about the American dream.
Yeah.
You think that the president is on his way to doing that?
I do. And I'm 49, so that's Gen X. That's what I want for my kids, right? Like at the end, look at what we were talking about for most of this interview so far. Yeah. It's really our kids and making sure they have a bright future ahead, they can achieve things. And I do think that's what this administration was all about. I think seeing the previous 4 years, the direction we were headed, there's a reason why President Trump won the popular vote. There's a reason why he swept those battleground states, because he was talking about things that really resonated with real people. The bubble up here, the things that are like top of mind, it's generally not the case. When I go back home, people are not having the same conversations that they are here, which I keep that with me. I think that fuels me every day to be that voice for the people in Missouri, like this common sense agenda. And that's what this is. So look, whether it's energy policy, no country in the history of the world has ever declared war on their own domestic energy supply. That's what Joe Biden did. No country really in the history of the world has opened up their border to just anybody, unvetted, 15 million people here illegally. It was crazy. And I think what happened was these people who were generally writing white papers found their way into key decision-making positions in the Biden White House. And President Autopen was he wanted to kind of have a legacy as the next FDR. I mean, he talked about this, and it was the most radical administration we've ever seen. So really what President Trump is doing, I think it's hitting a reset. You've got these tax cuts that we need to make permanent. That would be a $4 trillion tax increase if we don't do that. He ran on that. He talked about energy. And also on trade policy, the reality is after World War II, we had priorities. We wanted Western Europe and Japan to get back on their feet. So we were determined to beat Soviet communism. So they had certain advantages in trade deals and sort of things that we allowed to take place so that ultimately we would win the Cold War. After the Cold War, though, nothing changed. Those still unfair trade practices that inhibit our markets, our goods and their markets still exist. No president has had the courage to stand up and say, you know what, treat us fairly.
Yeah.
This is an outdated model. And I think when we do that, the net of all of this is going to be these trade barriers and unfair trade practices that other countries have just sort of done and gotten away with. They're going to come down. And so you've got energy policy, you've got regulatory reform, you got trade policy and energy policy. All that stuff will matter for real people. There have been 90,000 factories that have left since NAFTA. And so I just think of the community that I grew up in, North St. Louis County. You know, it was very blue collar, overwhelmingly Democrat, by the way. These are just working folks that wanted a better life, and those jobs were gone.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity, I think, to bring some of those back, and for more people in the working class, middle class, to share in the American dream. You know, some of the really wealthy folks, they've had a good run, and it's just time, I think, for regular people, normal people, to have an opportunity. And you saw that in President Trump's first term, right?
Mm-hmm.
You saw wage, inflation-adjusted wage increases were higher than they've ever been, and I think we're going to get back to that.
Well, Senator Eric Schmidt, I'm very grateful for your time. And, you know, as we started this interview talking about our families and our kids, it's all about the future.
Yeah.
And it's great to have a president that has an administration that is thinking about the future and, like you said, has the guts to do it. And senators like you who, in the majority, are helping get that done. So thanks so much.
Hey, it's been fun. Good to see you in person again. Yep.
You had a solid retirement dream, sell your home in a few years, bank the equity, downsize, and travel. But with an unpredictable economy and the future feeling uncertain, you're wondering if that equity will still be there when you're ready. What if you could bank that equity right now? With TrueHold, you can sell your home for its current value so you can access your equity today. You can bank the cash now and stay in the home you love with an easy standard lease. TrueHold even covers property taxes, insurance, and repairs. And since TrueHold hands over your equity in cash now, it's yours to do whatever you like. Don't let a shifting economy put your hard-earned equity at risk. Visit TrueHold.com and receive their competitive offer on your home in just 48 hours, based on its best current value, not what's coming. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out on your home's value without moving. That's TrueHold.com.
Farming's hard. To feed the world, farmers have to work the land, brave the elements, and fight the battle against weeds. Weeds reduce crop yields, so prices go up and everybody gets less to eat. But 50 years ago, farmers got a new tool to fight weeds, glyphosate. It kills weeds while protecting the harvest. Time and again, it has been approved by the EPA and by leading regulatory bodies around the world. It helps enable practices that reduce erosion and keep soil healthy, which is good for the earth. Farming's hard, but it's a little easier with glyphosate. Learn more at go.bayer.com/glyphosate, paid for by Bayer.
Spring into a new home with amazing savings at TR Hughes. Hi, I'm Jason Hughes with TR Hughes Homes, and we are currently offering half off up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs on brand new to-be-built homes at select TR Hughes communities. That's right, half up to $40,000 in options and up to $5,000 in closing costs. Visit trhughes.com for details.
The choice of a home builder is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising.
However, you really should visit trhughes.com.
History is happening in DC, and 97.1 FM Talk is on the inside. Our very own Manny Fry has been selected to join the national press pool covering President Trump's 100th day in office.
I'm going to Washington, and you're coming with me.
Exclusive access, unfiltered insight, local coverage, and we're inviting you along.
I'm Manny Fry, reporting from the White House throughout the day on 97.1 FM Talk.
Manny Goes to Washington is presented by Stewart's American Mortgage and Grasser Electric.
Mark Kotz here. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how to link to the market without the risk. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go online to retirementkey.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Well, it's been a crazy couple days, and Annie is still in Washington, D.C. She's still getting interviews. She's still meeting with very important people out there in Washington. But we want to know, since we're celebrating Trump's first 100 days in office, or second 100 days, I don't know, however you want to do that, his second term's first 100 days, we want to know, will the next 100 days have more victories, less victories, be about the same, or there haven't been any victories? What are you talking about? So what we need you to do is to jump on Annie's YouTube page. Just go to youtube.com and type in Annie Fry, Frey, and you'll see the live stream pop up. Jump in the live stream, click subscribe if you haven't done that already, and then vote in the poll and leave us a message telling us why you voted the way you voted, and we might read that message on air. The time is 1:44, and this time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
The Foley Foundation works tirelessly to bring American hostages home. Kim St-Ange here. We're raising awareness about the Foley Foundation's mission to reunite families, hold captors accountable, and prevent future hostage taking. Visit 971talk.com/events to learn more.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show. The Annie Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
A little more off the radar stories here. A couple things. This one is purely clickbait, but I took the bait hard when I clicked on this. Jeff Bridges teases Big Lebowski sequel decades after the cult classic premiered. You guys, Ethan, very good question for you, since you may have not even been alive when this movie came out. 1998. You weren't, were you?
No, I was not alive.
The Big Lebowski. You've never seen it?
I've never seen it, but I have heard plenty of people talk about it. I know several people that love it, that I would probably get in trouble for saying their names, that they do love it.
Really? Why? Everybody loves this movie.
I don't know. Isn't it kind of inappropriate?
I mean, a little bit, but not.
It's not that bad.
No, everything is inappropriate. This falls in the category of movies that are right in that wheelhouse.
Fair enough. But I do know some people that I may or may not have worked with at the ballpark that are big fans of this movie.
So Jeff Bridges, the headline, and it's such a clever headline, teases Big Lebowski sequel. Well, what he really said was Julianne Moore, who was also in that movie, and he's 75 now. They would fantasize about doing that movie. They would love to do it, but the Coen brothers are not going to do that. That's what he said. So the headline is, "Ooh, it could happen." The story is, it ain't gonna happen.
This movie had a loaded cast, by the way.
It's huge. John Goodman. Who's
John Goodman?
Steve Buscemi. Yeah, that's the other one.
John Turturro. Is that how you say that?
That's right. Yeah.
Sam Elliott. Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Who was he in that movie? I don't remember him.
Brandt.
I don't know
who Brandt is, but
it's been a long time since I've seen that movie. People chiming in saying, absolutely, it's a classic. It really is a classic. It's a weird classic.
It is weird,
but it is a classic. Here's another one. Scientists say, this scientist says the Big Bang Theory is all wrong, and he reveals how the universe really began. This is not a creationist article. I'm just warning you right now. It's still fully, billions, eons of years old. He is saying that the new theory that he's proposing is that the cosmos grew through numerous rapid fire bursts rather than a single massive explosion. So a bunch of little bangs rather than a big bang. This alternative explanation, published by Professor Richard Liu of the University of Alabama in Huntsville, challenges one of the most foundational, long-standing theories in all of cosmology. Liu argues that each of these bursts, known as temporal singularities, blasted new matter and energy out into space, which became planets, stars, galaxies, and everything in between. The Big Bang Theory, by comparison, proposes that the universe began as an infinitely small hot point of densely packed matter and energy. Here's what I don't understand about this stuff, and it's probably more numerous than I can say here, is the proposition that, because they're called temporal singularities, is the proposition that time didn't exist before the Big Bang? I don't know the answer to this, but that's what it seems to be saying, that there was no time as we know it before the Big Bang, right? Is that the scientific consensus?
I don't even know.
I don't know either. Somebody smarter than us, let us know if that's what
I've heard
commonly held.
that the Big Bang is really more an answer to where did the modern universe, or the known universe, come from. So the situation that we're in now, where did that come from? But it can't answer the question, where did everything else come from? Because matter, I don't remember what it says, but matter, which law this is, but matter can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change forms. And
yeah, I don't think they're saying that it was formed. They're just saying it was tightly packed.
Right. So that
and then exploded.
Right. So it, according to that, it still had to exist in eternity past.
But what I don't understand is, does that mean, because oddly, I do understand enough to know that time is quantifiable, that if you, basic stuff here, but if you and I are moving at different speeds, we experience time differently.
Yes.
And that time actually is different for us. And so if you were to go at the speed of light, naturally you would be time traveling in a sense, because time on Earth would be going a lot slower, or I guess faster than you would be. So you'd come back and 100 years would have gone by, but you're only traveling at the speed of light for a few minutes or whatever, that kind of thing. So time itself is not a constant, which is really interesting in and of itself. But I've never really grasped whether that they're saying that time started at the Big Bang. Like there was no time before the Big Bang. Ethan's like, oh, I decided to come in for this segment.
Yeah. You said fun stuff, not physics.
All I'm going to read is Chris's comment that says, some say it wasn't a bang at all, more of a long fart.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Let's make a full segment out of that and make sure
Annie's listening.
Annie's listening.
There's your title for
of that segment. It wasn't a big bang. It was more of a fart. All right. Since nobody has
the
any
Manny
clue,
Fry Show.
Since nobody has any clue what I'm talking about, here's another one. A mom has issued an urgent warning for people traveling with children in ride shares. First of all, ride shares. Have you done many Ubers?
No. Well, I mean, very few. I haven't done many.
Okay.
I have ridden in an Uber, but I've never booked one myself.
You know what's funny is that for a long time I drove Uber. I shouldn't say for a long time, but like a year
before you started here.
Actually, it was right into when I started here.
Was it like, did you make decent money off of it?
Well, it was 2018-19 or 17-18. I can't remember, right around there. And I just thought, you know what? I was closing my television production company, or we were just trying to figure out what to do with it. We weren't closing it, but we just were like, we're not doing anything.
Sure.
Let's figure out. And I wasn't doing anything else. And so I applied here because I just liked 97.1 and I had a history in radio and media. And in between when I got this job and when I was figuring out what to do with my company, there was probably 6 or 7 months that I was just floating. And so I decided to drive Uber, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. You do have to really commit to it to make a living doing it. You have to do it for pretty long hours. And I don't know how that's changed, because 2020 and inflation really changed everything. So and I know the prices of using Uber went up, so maybe it stayed consistent for the driver, but I don't know. But I know at that time, it was a great little in-between job for me, because it rolled with my schedule. I could be at the kids' stuff, usually work it middays through evening or whatever, and then stop whenever I wanted to.
Were you the driver that was conversing with all of the people that you were taking around, or were you quiet, or was it based kind of on what they wanted, or what was that like for you?
That's what I would do. I was such a good driver / host of my car. Did
you have the same car? Were you driving around the same car?
No, this is a little Ford Fiesta.
Ryan has lots of great Uber stories.
What a privilege it would have been to drive people around in that Mazda.
Mazda 5? Yeah. It seats more than the Fiesta did. I probably could have made a few more bucks.
Ryan rolls up and the person looks at the car and cancel.
Well, at the time, I don't know if this is true, but at the time, you could not Uber in a car that was over 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You had to have a car
really?
that was newer.
Is that a thing still?
They may have
Okay.
changed that because again, COVID, people were driving cars way longer, and they probably still are than they were. But yeah, I drove that little thing around, and if people got in my car, I would kind of read them. You know, do you want to talk? Do you not want to talk? And it was very easy to tell. They would get in the car and just say hi, and then they would go back to whatever they were doing, or they would just start talking to you. And it was real easy.
Now it's 15 years. 15 years old.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So this story is that a mom has issued an urgent warning for people traveling with children in ride shares after an Uber driver accidentally drove away with her young daughter in the car.
Oh.
I can't, as a former driver, what the heck are you thinking? I guess if you just get in the mode and you're not thinking about it, because I don't think this driver was trying to do something wrong here. He just drove off. The mom shared her story in a lengthy post declaring that Uber, and she contacted Uber and she was trying to,
sue.
I'm sure she's trying to sue him now. Why wouldn't you? She says, our exit plan with the driver had been communicated loudly and clearly right beside the driver. The shocked mom wrote in the post saying there was no language barrier or anything like that. She had the daughter in a car seat and said, hey, I'm going to get out of the car, go around to the other side and unbuckle it. Well, she didn't. She had a couple other kids in the car too. They all got out. She walks around the back, driver just takes off.
Oh my gosh, parents' worst nightmare.
Can you imagine? And so she immediately tries contacting the driver. She tries contacting Uber. In an emergency, there was no real urgency to get that done. And
wow.
Yeah. So they called Uber in a panic, they refused to contact the driver, amazingly. So
wow. They're suing Uber.
Yeah. They provided police with a recent photo taken that morning, and then put out an Amber Alert. She says, my daughter was alone in the dark with a stranger, terrified and confused upon the police finally tracking them down over an hour later.
How stupid.
Man. The thing is, though, you can avoid doing that. You could have done something maybe differently, but I don't really blame the mom too much here. I wouldn't step out of that car without my kid.
I don't understand the part of Uber not being willing to contact the driver. How is that not viewed as an emergency?
From my experience, Uber is really slow to react because a lot of times people overreact.
Okay.
And they want you to solve their problem when really you should just solve it with the person in person. And they figure
serious issue, though.
Oh, I get it. They figure, well, if I back off a little bit, they'll solve it, and then they don't have to get involved. But with this one, you're like, look, my daughter is actively in an Uber by herself right now.
You
that
cost
just drove
yourself
off.
a few $100K there, probably.
You need to figure out what's going on. All right, Annie is in Washington, D.C., and she is sending us content. We have a lot for you in the 2 o'clock hour, so stick around.
If you're a supporter of the Second Amendment, you need to be a member of the Range St. Louis West. Mark Cox here. You know, they get free lanes and free firearm rentals, 5% off firearms and suppressors, 10% off accessories, and 15% off classes. The new benefit on Sundays from 10 to noon, the lanes are for members only. And in April, you get 2 free basic cleanings of a modern firearm. Check them out at 14803 Manchester Road in Baldwin, therangestl.com.
The International Institute of St. Louis invites you to try international cuisine, support local immigrant-owned businesses, and more at their community bazaars. The bazaars are free and open to the public at the International Institute of St. Louis, located at 3401 Arsenal Street, and take place every other Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Learn more about the International Institute of St. Louis Community Bazaars at iistl.org/bazaar. Message supported by Together Credit Union.
When my wife and I got married after both graduating law school, we didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. Ultima had to give me her gas card just to drive home. We never could have imagined that one day we would have the largest injury firm in the world and $25 billion in money collected and counting. As good Catholics, we had 4 children fast. They all work in the firm today. Our family protecting yours. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan, but our greatest gift was years away, grandchildren. Today we have 6 and counting. It's the greatest joy that we have ever experienced. I think about them all day long. Our family promises to protect your family should you need us. Call us. It's easy. Visit forthepeople.com and make sure you hug your grandchildren. God's final gift to us. Morgan & Morgan, for the people. Injured? Dial pound law or visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends at Triton Exteriors. Not sure if you've noticed, but the storms seem to be especially bad this spring. If you had James Hardy Smart Siding, you wouldn't have to worry about it. It's not going to be damaged like in the 314-day storm. So we do roofing, siding, gutters, fences. We're always going to be the middle bid. We're never going to cut corners. We're never going to take advantage of you. Call 314-717-1159 or triton-stl.com.
I am the place that trained America's black doctors and nurses. Homer G. Phillips Hospital opened in 1937, transforming healthcare for St. Louis's black community. The hospital became a vital training ground, producing over 50% of the nation's black medical graduates by 1939. Homer G. stood as a symbol of empowerment and resilience in the face of segregation. St. Louis is more fascinating than you realize, and the Missouri Historical Society is giving it a proper introduction. We are stlouis.com.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
President Trump's take on the first 100 days. On Lisa Brady, Fox News, just telling reporters he's either done everything or is in the process of doing it. He says the border is in great shape.
I would say that was my number one thing. The economy would be certainly right up there, and I think it's doing great. We were losing billions and billions of dollars a day with trade.
The president says he thinks the U.S. will have a deal with India as talks continue with multiple countries. He also just confirmed an easing of some tariffs for automakers, saying he didn't want to penalize companies if they had trouble finding parts supplies during what he calls a transition period. He's also offering reassurance about Republican lawmakers coming together on tax cuts and spending cuts.
Oh, I think they're going to be all aboard. I think the Republicans are really with us. We have the big, beautiful deal. It's moving along, and I think we're going to have it taken care of. I think they'll all be there.
President Trump says he had a good call with Amazon, and that Bezos did the right thing. This after reports the company was planning to list tariff charges for certain products. Amazon says that was never an approved plan and is not happening. The president's heading to Michigan for a rally as Democrats slam his first 100 days as disastrous. American consumers remain concerned, with consumer confidence slumping for a fifth straight month in the Conference Board's index, lowest level since the start of the pandemic. And job openings fell in March to just under 7.2 million vacancies.
However, overall layoffs declined by 222,000. Overall hires held at 5.4 million, and total separations were little changed at 5.1 million, suggesting stability in the labor market right before April's tariffs were unveiled.
Fox's Jenny Cosola, an hour to the close on Wall Street. The Dow's up 350 points. America is listening to Fox News.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
The atmosphere is quite moist and juicy, and we're looking for another batch of rain and thunderstorms to develop mid to late afternoon, especially to our south. Otherwise, we're looking at a mix of clouds and sunshine, windy at 75. Some showers, some thunderstorms around tonight. Wednesday, showers and some thunderstorms, 76, and still kind of wet on Thursday. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
AirComfortService.com. You are looking for the people you can trust to come into your home and rectify the air conditioner that isn't doing the trick. It's blowing, but it's not blowing cool air, or it's not blowing when it's supposed to be. You're not achieving that comfort zone temperature. Whatever it is for you, you want to make sure that you have someone that you can trust to come into your home and solve that issue for you. If you are looking for maintenance, somebody who can come in and ensure that you're doing the, month-to-month maintenance, the season-to-season maintenance on your HVAC system that helps keep you from having to deal with those very costly repairs, well, you can also reach out to Air Comfort Service and sign up for their maintenance plan. And if you pay monthly, the 12th month is free. Air Comfort Service is there to keep you in your comfort zone. They can help keep you comfortable with the purified air in your home as well. If you talk to them about a whole home air purifier, everything you need to know about HVAC, insulation, all of it at aircomfortservice.com.
Have you been notified that your subsidy for Obamacare health insurance is going away? Well, you can leave now while you're still healthy and qualify for much better individual plans. Greg Hammonds at greghammonds.com has been helping people get affordable health insurance with great coverage for over 35 years. Greg offers private health insurance plans that are not on the ACA marketplace. You can pick your doctors. For most claims, you won't even pay a deductible, and they're 30 to 60% lower cost than Obamacare. One more thing, there's no tax penalty at the end of the year. Greg even has plans that are guaranteed acceptance. If you pay for your own health insurance, you're uninsured, you're on COBRA, or your employer coverage is just too expensive, call Greg at 314-794-7784. That's 314-794-7784. Or go to greghammonds.com. That's greghammonds.com. He can custom design a plan by you, not the government.
Setting goals for your retirement is one thing, but knowing how to achieve those goals is another.
What are your wishes, hopes, and dreams? What's retirement look like for you? Because everybody, that picture is different.
For tips on building a better nest egg, listen to the All Financial Hour with Steve All, Saturday mornings at 6, here on 97.1 FM Talk.
You can also visit yourmoneymattersstl.com for more details.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Start at Indeed.com/credit.
Annie Goes to Washington is sponsored by Stewart's American Mortgage. Same or better rates, no closing costs, fast closing. And by Grasser Electric. Don't be left in the dark. Call Grasser Electric.
That is exactly what I needed to hear.
Thank God someone here knows what they're talking about.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride.
All right, you need to take the time and get the full picture.
Come on, turn the radio on. It's Saturday and I won't be long.
Don't get me wrong. I love the ladies. I mean, they rev my engine, but they don't belong in the newsroom. It is Anchor Man, not Anchor Lady.
What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
Goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show.
Look, what is wrong with you people in the chat? I said last hour, at the end of the hour, that they were changing the Big Bang. You know, that there's a scientist who says maybe it wasn't a Big Bang, maybe it was a bunch of little bangs. And now all of you guys are like, hey, it's fart jokes time, and little bangs is crop dusting. And I'm like, oh, you guys, I'm enjoying it, but you got to remember that it's not just the Manny Fry Show reading this stuff. Annie will see all of this, I'm sure, or at least I think.
Yeah, and she'll be like, why did you let them talk about that? And be like, well, we didn't.
It's going to come back on us, is what we're saying. Is that she's going to say, look, you guys did an hour on farting. No, we didn't. We did not. You did. If you want to be a part of that conversation for whatever reason, type in Annie Fry on YouTube.
Or if you want to change it, come in and talk about something else.
You could be the change you wish to see in the world. This is the Annie Fry Show. She is in Washington, D.C. yesterday and today. She will be back in tomorrow morning, hopefully right in time for the show. Otherwise, I will be ready to go, and she'll be in sometime during the show. And in fact, we were talking about in this segment maybe being able to go live with her. This is how kind of late everything's happening, is that we were going to try to maybe go live with her in Capitol Hill, because she's actively doing interviews with lawmakers right now. A lot of them with local ties, people that you would know, the names you would know. But she's been also sending us interviews that she's doing along the way. And we figured we'd set apart this segment to play for you a couple of those. They're shorter. So this first one is with a guy named Link Lauren. Now, I did not know his name before yesterday. Brad did.
Yeah,
he's an influencer.
I've been following him for quite a while. Political commentary, that sort of thing. Worked with the RFK campaign and that sort of thing. Now he's partnered up with Megyn Kelly.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just good, funny, pithy political commentary.
And he's got a lot of followers, a lot of influence. That's why they call them influencers. And he is part of what they call new media. And there is a new media chair in the White House. I don't think he was in it. Yesterday it was DC Drano was in it. Today it was somebody from Punch Bowl News.
And so
these are new media outlets, which I think is cool. And this is not something that previous administrations have utilized or at least made official. Yes, they probably talked to influencers along the way more and more as they become more influential. But now they actually have a seat in the press room. And I guess Annie just kind of ran into Link Lauren yesterday and said, "Hey, you want to talk?" And he said, "Sure." So here you go.
Out here on the White House lawn with my new friend Link Lauren. You know his name. You know him from X, and you probably know him as somebody who worked really hard to help support RFK Jr. in the last election. Link, thanks for talking to me today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. So you said you're kind of new to the White House press pool?
I don't even know if I'm in the pool. I don't know the difference between this pool, the travel pool, the swimming pool. All I know is I'm here by the grace of Caroline Levitt and all the incredible people who work for her in the press office. They were kind and gracious to invite me, and I'm grateful to be here, and it's a privilege to be here, honestly.
What do you think about the White House's focus on bringing new voices in, not kicking the other ones out, of course, but making sure that there is a broader representation in the press room?
Totally. I think there are a lot of new media folks who go online and say legacy media needs to get kicked out, kick them out of the press pool, kick them out of the White House. I think you need a cornucopia of voices. I want MSNBC here. I want CNN here, but I also want Bannon's War Room. I want new people. I want to be here. And that's that dialogue and that push and pull and that tension and release that we need to get the fair coverage here in the White House.
I think that's a great point, and I think that they've done a pretty good job of doing that. The people who I've talked to who have been in the briefing room say there's always a lot of new faces inside the room. So talk to me a little bit about what you've got going on. You have worked a lot with RFK Jr. He is a huge part of the reason Donald Trump obviously won the election. Tell me about working with him, and then now where that has taken you. You've got some things coming up.
Right. So after the Kennedy campaign, I basically went and did political commentary and focused on my content and going on shows. And I just try to be a voice of common sense. You know, I've never taken a dollar from the RNC or any Trump aligned PACs or Trump. I really just call it like I see it. But it just so happens the right is much more aligned with common sense right now. They're on the side of the 80% of these 80-20 issues. And so I also have my new podcast coming out on May 12th with MK Media, Megyn Kelly Media. It's called Spot On with Link Lauren. So we have so many group text and calls going now as I'm here at the White House to get it done. But I'm super grateful to start. It's going to basically be what I've been doing on TikTok for years. It's politics, it's pop culture, it's royals, it's everything in between, and also bringing people along with me to the White House and these exciting opportunities.
Well, I'm excited to download it when it comes out. What's the name again?
Spot On with Link Lauren.
Spot On with Link Lauren. Will you come on the Manny Fry Show sometime and talk to us?
1000% now. This is my new best friend.
All right. Thank you, Link. We appreciate it.
We tricked him. He's on the Manny Fry Show right now. Unbelievable. A lot of you guys are commenting. Actually, let's pull this one up here. Stick Maniac says, love Link. So I guess you guys do know who he is. I was not familiar with him until yesterday. And the rest of you guys are still doing fart jokes. So I'm not going to pull those up. Farting in the elevator and all this stuff. All right. So, I don't know, man. What you guys deal? Politicians pooping in coat closets now?
Jeez, guys,
we're trying to have a dignified show here.
This is a serious show.
So that was Link Lauren. He worked on the RFK Jr. campaign. So yesterday, we talked to Annie a bit about this yesterday and today, that yesterday of this 100-day week, which we're covering here on 97.1, by the way, and it will continue tomorrow with the town hall with Trump and Chris Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly That is 7:00 tomorrow night. That'll be kind of fun to listen to. We're carrying it exclusively. But yesterday was the focus was immigration.
Yep.
Today was economy.
Yes.
Is economy. Tomorrow, do we know what they're doing?
I don't know. And I'm not sure that there's a press conference tomorrow.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was Health and Human Services,
Yeah.
Take back your food and stuff like that. I wouldn't be. So the RFK thing is interesting because all these people, there's so many different areas of reform that are happening in government and that really are going to affect American society that you kind of can do one day on each thing and say, look, this is where we're going right now. We did a poll last week that was, do you expect a big announcement on day 100?
Right.
I don't know that we got that announcement.
No, we didn't. I would say we didn't unless he does it tonight at
the rally. Oh, that's right. He could do it tonight at the rally, but we'll see. I would have figured that it would have been part of the press pool, stuff this morning, but we'll see. So that's that poll from last week. This one, since we're on it, is will the next 100 days have more victories, less victories, about the same, or there haven't been any victories? You can let us know what you think about that. We get the results at the end of the show. Annie did have a chance to sit down. Well, she was sitting in Mike Bost's office while she was talking to us, and there was like a buzz going off that we assume was because they needed to vote on things. We don't really know. That's the stuff that we'll find out soon, because that's all like insider stuff. We've never experienced that before. But she did finally get to catch up with Representative Mike Bost, and we'll play that for you now.
Congressman Mike Bost in his office here on Capitol Hill. Congressman, I'm up here to cover the president's 100th day today, actually. Your thoughts on the administration's job so far?
Well, first off, I've never been, I've been through 3 presidents now, even his presidency before. I've never seen so many things happen in such a short period of time. Not just executive orders, but also moving bills to deal with the border, to deal with illegals, make sure that they're, and really it's just like you said, promises made, promises kept. He's doing his job to keep those promises. Now we have to do our job to try to make sure that executive orders actually become law, not just an executive order. So if he leaves and a new person comes in, they don't all of a sudden get rid of it. There's a lot of things we're going to be working on from that. But every day, including this week, remember that we're starting to have our committee hearings on reconciliation to pass the one big beautiful bill. So our hope is that we get that done by, it's going to take about 3 weeks, and it's going to be vicious fights. It really is. But then we send that over to the Senate. The Senate hopefully will agree with the majority of it. Hopefully that this will be very wonky. It will have to pass the Byrd rule, which is the to make sure that everything in the bill is truly about the budget. But as far as his administration, he's doing exactly what they told the people he's going to do.
Congressman Bost, one other question before I let you go here. You chair the Veterans Affairs Committee.
Yep.
A lot of people are concerned about their entitlements being affected, and a lot of people are worried about what's going to happen to the veterans.
And here we can tell this to your listeners. The president, myself, the secretary of the VA, no services for our veterans are being cut. Reducing bureaucracy, that will happen. And quality of the delivery of those services will happen. And you can take that to the bank. We're going to make sure that our veterans, because here's the thing. I said it before the new secretary, but the new secretary says it as well. The VA was not created for bureaucracy. It was created for the veterans, and our veterans will be served.
Mike Bost with Annie Fry just moments ago. She's sending this stuff kind of as it's happening. Do we know for sure that she's been able to talk to Representative Mary Miller yet, or no?
I know they were scheduled to meet, and she was scheduled to meet with Rep. LaHood. Now, you can schedule stuff in Washington, but votes happen, meetings happen, stuff gets called last minute, and they all got to run to the floor. So there's always a chance that that didn't come
it was
together,
maybe going to happen right now, so that's why I didn't know if it was actively in the works or what, but that's our job, to just sort of keep the trains running here as she is in Washington DC. So one of the things that Mike Bost said there that I found interesting, of course we're hearing this live the same time as you are, we're getting it and we can't preview it while we're on to play it back, we're just playing it as we get it. So what he said was he's still hoping 3 weeks away from a budget bill. which I was surprised to hear because we know timestamp. We know when that came through.
Yeah.
And just this morning, we were hearing from Speaker Mike Johnson that he was maybe looking at July 4th as the deadline now instead of Memorial Day, which just yesterday Ryan Schmelz told us Memorial Day.
But Ryan Schmelz, when you asked him, said I could be closer to July.
I think we acknowledge that. So for Mike Bost to still say, we're looking at 3 weeks, that's still Memorial Day.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit surprised to hear that. I again, I'll say it again. I said it yesterday, probably at the same time, that I don't really care how long it takes. Don't let it get in the way of other things. So if it's just jamming everything up and you got all this other stuff you're not doing because you're focused on that, that's one problem.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're just hammering out negotiations because A, you got to get through a lot of rules processes, you're going to have that anyway. But B, you got so many different factions, mainly within the Republican Party, that are trying to make sure that hopefully it's not just my priorities in spending get through, but that my priorities in cutting spending get through. I will say that till I'm blue in the face. We have very little opportunity to actually cut the budget. And this is an opportunity to do that. Rescission will also happen. We're getting into the weeds a little bit when we say that. I get it. But that's where you take everything that Doge has done, you bring it back to Congress, probably individually, and vote it into the budget bill. But that would come after the budget bill is passed. So these are complicated things. Mike Bost said that. It's not like super entertaining radio, but that's our job, is to communicate this information as we understand it to you in a way that we all get it.
Yeah. And I also appreciate him clearing the air about VA cuts. I know there are a lot of people, because a lot of the people that I'm around are veterans affairs, active duty, stuff like that. And this does cause a bit of consternation, but he's saying there's no cuts there. So it's good to know that and to kind of clear the air whenever the other side is trying to muddy the water in the process.
Oh, Brad, you just said consternation. And this whole segment, people just are, you know what people said? They said constipation. And other people are doing hashtag shart and stuff still. Why is this a thing in this segment? We keep trying to move away from it, and you keep dragging us back into it.
Consternation is nothing to do with what the chat has been talking
muddying the waters.
Yeah, that also doesn't have anything to do with the chat.
This is your fault, listeners. No, we didn't do anything.
Y'all need to get your mind out of the
toilet.
Yeah, out of the toilet.
Not even the gutter. It's not even that kind of humor. It's just toilet humor. This is your fault. All right. We're trying to do a proper show here, the Manny Fry Show. Hashtag let it go. All right. Yeah. You know we're kidding. You know I actually really enjoy this, right?
Oh, Jackie, get him.
Go get him. All right, it's 2:21. We're going to take a short break and come back with a little bit more stuff. Now, this is stuff I prepared yesterday. Bill Maher had a guest on. His name, Adam Schiff. There's some goofy stuff that came out of that interview. This guy is so weird to watch. If you're a person who watches Adam Schiff, even if you're a Democrat, please let me know if you're like, everything that guy says seems super trustworthy to me. I want to meet you because you've got to be one in a million. That guy, everything he says to me, you're like, what's the angle? He just looks like he's lying. He was on Bill Maher talking about the film industry and why it has basically left California. And we'll get to that next.
This is the Manny Fry Show. The Manny Fry Show is streaming online. Watch us live on YouTube and subscribe.
One of the things with running is I want to enjoy the run, but I never made it very far because the arches in my feet just killed me. So when I got to the end of my rope and I said, I have to do something to get rid of the pain, and a couple of people recommended the Good Feet store to me. I loved how I could go in and get a free personalized arch support fitting. They put that time, that work, that effort into helping you find the right arch supports. And you can walk around this store with these in your shoes and try them out before you purchase them. So after I got my arch supports, the arches on my feet stopped hurting and the pain literally instantly went away. So if you have pain, go. Find a Good Feet store and go. There is an answer. Find the simple solution that will get rid of your pain. I'm Rondi, and that's my Good Feet story.
See how Good Feet arch supports work for you before you buy with a free fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
College holds a mythic place in American culture, but there are stories you won't hear on the campus tours.
The higher-ups are concerned about one thing, and that is avoiding scandal.
I'm Margot Gray. On the new podcast, Campus Files, we cover everything from rigged admissions to the drama of Greek life and student protests. Listen to and follow Campus Files, an Odyssey original podcast. Available now on the free Odyssey app and wherever you get your podcasts.
If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. The winner will be chosen at random to receive $5,000 towards new garage doors, openers, or front entry doors of their choice. Deadline to enter is the end of the month to win the $5,000 sweepstakes with Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorsstlouis.com. You can't win if you don't enter at overheaddoorsstlouis.com.
Don't get lulled into believing the IRS is getting soft. It's just the opposite. Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. We are being told by IRS collection officers that their higher-ups are demanding that they get more aggressive than ever. So don't ignore them any longer. Level up. If you have unfiled returns, unpaid taxes, levies, or liens, call the Lance Story Law Firm today and let us get between you and the IRS. We'll protect your rights, including your right to appeal or even your right to take the IRS to tax court. Remember, IRS problems are legal problems, and they need to be handled by an expert attorney team who's done it for decades. So call the Lance Story Law Firm today. We're local. Our office is right here in St. Louis, or visit lance.law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm, the Lance Story Law Firm, 314-260-6120.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
Hey guys, it's Mark Reardon. If you're struggling with low energy, performance issues, or weight gain, Game Day Men's Health has got you covered with testosterone therapy, ED treatments, and more in all of a relaxed man cave environment. At Game Day, you'll get a free testosterone test and consultation, all in just 1 hour. Game Day is the premier men's health clinic with locations in Chesterfield, O'Fallon, Missouri, and Glen Carbon, Illinois. Visit GameDayMen'sHealth.com. That's GameDayMen'sHealth.com. Get back in the game with Game Day Men's Health.
You're listening to the Manny Fry Show live from the Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation Studio. Air Comfort Service is donating a bag of food to Open Door Animal Sanctuary for every AC clean and check performed in April. To schedule your AC check, visit aircomfortservice.com.
You're listening to the Manny Fry Show. Find the podcast, on-demand audio, and more at 971talk.com/Annie.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Oh, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man.
This is Miley Cyrus, right? It's a good cover.
Jolene, 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 Jolene.
That's really her zone. Like, I know she didn't want to do that, but country music.
Yeah, she should have stuck with country. I don't really like Miley Cyrus that much, but this is a good song.
Yes. It's in her wheelhouse.
I say that every time we play that. Hey, this is the Manny Fry Show, and it is kind of the Manny Fry Show right now because Annie is in Washington, D.C. She's still got
chat.
What's that?
And our chat.
Oh, gosh, yes. Down. Oh, my gosh. You guys did not stop during the break. If you're just tuning in, people are going like full fart jokes in the chat right now. Not sure why. And now we're going to do a segment on Adam Schiff. So have fun with that. This started because a few weeks ago, Rob Lowe, of all people, I guess he was doing a podcast. Maybe I don't know if it's his podcast or if he was on a podcast because everybody has a podcast now. But Rob Lowe was talking to somebody about how dead it feels in LA, in Hollywood, if you're in the industry, meaning the entertainment industry. And you thought, well, maybe it's a little bit more perception. And Rob Lowe was willing to speak about it because Rob Lowe seems to lean right. I don't know that he's been out in public wearing MAGA hats or anything like that. Like, what's his name? Snake from Escape from New York was, I can't remember his name.
Kurt Russell.
Ray Russell. I can't want to say Douglas. Kurt Russell.
Snake from Escape from New York.
So he was like wearing full MAGA stuff, but he doesn't go out and do interviews about it. He just wears it. I don't think Rob Lowe is in that camp, but I do think that he probably leans right and just doesn't say a lot in Hollywood. Although Hollywood is changing, and he was criticizing California for being so crappy, for letting that whole industry leave, which it kind of has. But now Ben Affleck is out there criticizing California. Ben Affleck is definitely not right or MAGA. But he is saying California has taken Hollywood for granted as film and TV productions flee the state. He says, quote, "I think part of the problem with California is they came to take this industry for granted a little bit." He was on the red carpet for his movie premiere for The Accountant 2. Have you seen The Accountant 1?
No.
Do you know it?
I
don't
know
the
of
movie.
it. Yeah, it's an action movie.
Oh, okay. He says he pointed out that places such as Georgia, New Mexico, Louisiana, I didn't know that one, Texas, Massachusetts, and New Jersey have offered tax deals and other incentives to lure productions because they understand how stimulative it is for their economies. That's very true. Illinois actually does it too. And Missouri had talked about doing it. They may have had it for a while. I don't know if they still do, some tax incentives for productions to be here. I think I got an argument once on Twitter, a mild argument with John Lamping about
Is there
this.
such thing as a mild argument on
Kind
Twitter?
of, because it's John Lamping and we know each other enough, that it was like, we're going to go full at each other.
We
But
had a mild disagreement.
I
on
come
Twitter.
from that world. And so I was advocating for Missouri to keep those tax breaks for productions, for movies and TV and whatever. And he was like, we should not do that. That is stupid. And I don't disagree with the premise, but my premise was, why not lower all taxes? Like, let's find opportunities to keep lowering taxes. And his was, well, yeah, but why just that one? And I completely understand. But
why just that one? Good point. Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I really did. I agreed, but I said, but in the meantime, I would still like to see those. And so I just kind of disagreed. But that very argument came to Bill Maher, of all people, with Adam Schiff. Now, Bill Maher obviously is in the entertainment industry, but Adam Schiff is not, or at least that we refer to it as. But it was Adam Schiff with a New York Times writer named Brett Stevens. And first, the New York Times article writer made this point.
Well, the central part of that question is that California, I'm sorry to say this, a beautiful state, has become Exhibit A in progressive misgovernance. And if you're going to tax industries straight out of the country, if you're going to continue to lose, 100,000, 200,000 people every year who have to leave here because it's unaffordable, because housing is unaffordable, you're going to create an example of what Americans don't want from the left. So Democrats, and my colleague Ezra Klein is doing this, are taking a good hard look at California and saying, we're not that. We need to be a party that's from some other model.
So Brett Stevens, as far as I understand it, the New York Times writer here, is a Democrat. Mm-hmm. He's criticizing Democrats for losing their way and saying California is kind of the peak of this, because you can look at all the problems Democrats have and point to California as that's why, right there, and across lots of different points.
Yeah, you can't do what they're doing because look what they did to that state.
Yes.
The policies aren't working.
Right. And so he's making that point broadly. Now, Bill Maher's question originally was, well, what about Hollywood? Why is it leaving? That he made a broader point. So then Adam Schiff steps in.
I don't disagree that we've got to do a lot to improve governance in California, but I don't agree with the diagnosis of why the film industry is leaving. They're leaving because they're getting richer incentives in other states and other countries. And we haven't kept pace with that. So if you want to film in the United Kingdom, you're going to get a tremendous tax break. And our motion picture industry has left the country. If you want to film in New York or Georgia, there are generous tax incentives. If we want to keep the industry here, we're going to have to compete.
Okay, it's odd that I'm going to say this. Maybe the only time I'll ever say this about Adam Schiff. I agree with Adam Schiff. He is right about that one of the reasons that Hollywood hasn't been able to keep up. Now, Hollywood has had, and California has had, a lot of tax incentives for, well, not as many as other places, but they've had some for Hollywood. But they figure they're all here, and we don't really need to give them any tax breaks. Okay, so states started stepping in and saying, we'll give you huge tax breaks. Georgia was a main one.
Yeah.
You see the little Georgia peaches come up at the end of a lot of TV shows now. It's because they're all filmed right outside of Atlanta. A good friend of mine lives right by there, and man, property values have shot up like crazy because they all want to be around the movies. The problem is that, well, this is a little bit different point, but AI is moving so fast that big studios are just not being built anymore. There's a weird story out there about Tyler Perry, who was getting ready to build a massive production house in Georgia, I think. And somebody showed him, this is a couple years ago, what AI was beginning to be able to do. And he canceled everything because he goes, you're just not going to need it in the same way. And it looks like he's probably right. I don't think we've really rounded that corner fully yet, but people are looking at the future of entertainment very, very differently. But back to the original point here, there are lots of places internationally. I think Ireland is one of them. He says UK, definitely Canada. It's why so many productions moved to Vancouver in the 90s and 2000s. And then states started to step into it too, with Georgia, New Mexico being chief among them. So that there is a lot of truth to that people have left California because A, it's expensive. B, they're not quite keeping up with those tax abatement, tax credits. And you don't really need, it used to be, well, we got to shoot in California because of the weather. There's just you just don't need to do that anymore. You shoot so much on screens and inside that's not as big of a deal as it used to be. So even though Schiff makes a point there that is relevant, I really think Brett Stevens comes back here and makes the better, bigger point after Schiff gets done.
I think it's more that we're being outbid.
But why should it just be for Hollywood? It should be for normal people. It should be for any kind of entrepreneur, not just celebrities that whose pictures and whose faces you know. I mean, that's the problem. It shouldn't just simply be a favored industry. Oh, we can't lose our movie stars. Every year, California loses people because they are being driven away by a high tax, high regulation state where public services don't reach the standards that they should. That should be a signal that we shouldn't have one favored industry or another. We should have a favored state. California should be competitive.
I'm glad to hear Democrats talking like that. How much of a Democrat he is, I don't know. Maybe he's like a closet libertarian or something, because that's what he sounds like. But he's making a really good point, and that's that why should we have to do carve-outs for these things instead of just lowering the cost of everything? So that's what this looks like, is whenever you pass lots and lots of big taxes, so the government gets its hands in everything, what the government then does is finds favored industries and says, yes, but you're exempt. Yes, but you're exempt. And you, and you. And if you don't think that's actually happening, the current governor of California was absolutely doing this.
Oh, yeah.
Within the last couple of years. Remember the Panera carve out?
Yeah. You don't have to have the minimum wage.
Minimum wage didn't apply if you bake a certain kind of bread in the
if you
back.
have a bakery.
I mean, come on. But that's what happens is you constantly add layer upon layer of government. And then because people are people and the human heart is evil above all things.
Yeah, desperately wicked.
They find ways to get around their own rules for things that will benefit them and their friends. And this is the exact same thing, to make it even bigger, that Donald Trump was calling out when he was running against Hillary Clinton. He was saying, look, you're going to stand up here and posture and tell us all how the taxes need to be, all the loopholes.
He don't pay his taxes.
All these things that the rich are doing that the average person isn't doing. Meanwhile, you're the person who made those laws, made those rules, could change them, and don't, because it benefits all of your friends. So definitely I'm going to use those loopholes because you've allowed me to. Yeah. It was just genius and brilliant. and he is now the president again. It is 100 days into the Trump second term, and we're asking you the question on the YouTube live chat poll today. More victories ahead in the next 100, less victories, about the same, or there haven't really been any victories? We haven't answered this question yet. Brad, do you have a thought on this poll?
Yeah, I think there's more victories ahead. They got a lot done, but there's a lot more to be done. And I just think that over the next 100 days and within that 100 days will be things like the big, beautiful bill. And maybe we get an agreement with Iran. Maybe we see some peace in the Middle East as far as Hamas and Israel. Hey, who knows? Maybe they're able to get Russia to the table and get an agreement with Ukraine where that war stops. There's a lot of victories that are just sitting out there ready to go. Trade deals, all of that stuff. There's more winning.
What do you think is the biggest win of the first 100 days?
The biggest win of the first 100 days, hands down, easy, is the southern border. Like that was, he walked in, said, we ain't doing it that way anymore. If you come in, you're going out. And it stopped almost instantly.
It's amazing how fast. It's amazing how fast. And no bill, nothing has changed.
No, he just enforced the laws.
That's it. He's been creative. You know, they took back a huge piece of land near the border in certain states. I don't think they did it along the entire Rio Grande, but in the western states along the border, they declared parts of that federal land for national security. And that was after they had already gotten the border pretty secure. So
and they looked at where are they sneaking in at now.
Okay, we're going to go here now. So I agree. That's probably the biggest win of the first 100 days. My answer to this poll is the same as yours, that I think there's more ahead because most of what's been done so far has been set up for bigger victories. Hopefully that will happen in the next 100 days.
Yeah.
Not further than that. Of course, the tariff one is the big one on everybody's mind. But the reason I answer that, oddly, it's because I think that we're going to start seeing a little bit more publicly the roots of some of the corruption of Washington. What that looks like, I don't know exactly. Like, how are they going to find and come at this? From what angle? Who's going to be the first domino to fall? Seen a lot of chatter lately about the Clinton Foundation using a lot of their money in very inappropriate ways, like for Chelsea's wedding and stuff. This has been a while ago, but that stuff's making the rounds again. You go, well, you know, that's one way they could find corruption, is to go through the spending of some of these non-government organizations and figure out what were you spending on, because if you have fraudulently put in line items, then you've committed fraud against the U.S. government. And that's been used before. So I don't know if that's how this whole house of cards comes tumbling down, but that's why I answer that I think you're going to see more victories, because you're going to see more light coming to a lot of the stuff that's been in the dark for so long in the next 100 days. I hope that's what we see. But that's the YouTube live chat poll. We're inviting you to vote on it today. Let us know what you think. We will give you the results at the end of the next segment, which is also coincidentally the end of the Manny Fry Show for today. And we will look forward to seeing Annie tomorrow at noon. But stick around for the results of this poll and a little bit more interesting content to come. You are listening to the Manny Fry Show here on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is the Manny Fry Show. Follow Annie on X at Manny Fry Show.
There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. 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 Jolene.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get ready, St. Louis. The largest Walk for Wishes in the nation is back. Join us on May 3rd at Energizer Park in downtown St. Louis for the Walk for Wishes and 5K race presented by Spectrum. Run, walk, roll, or stroll and celebrate the power of a wish with a 5K race or 1 mile fun walk, all benefiting our local Make-A-Wish chapter. Sign up today and help grant life-changing wishes for children with critical illnesses. Visit walkforwishesstl.com to register today.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game, it's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Game tickets? Check.
A round of cold beers? Check.
Ballpark hot dogs? Check.
Baseball is back and nothing beats a night out with the guys.
Or ladies.
At a Cardinals game.
From thrilling games and mouth-watering eats to the iconic ballpark energy, Busch Stadium is the ultimate spot for you and your crew to dive into America's favorite pastime.
Make your next night out the best one yet. Join us at Busch Stadium, where every hour is happy.
For tickets, visit Cardinals.com.
St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Who has the most 5-star reviews in St. Louis, is the Post-Dispatch Window Retailer of the Year, J.D. Power Award winner 5 years in a row, and has the nation's best warranty coverage? Renewal by Andersen, that's who. Take advantage of our great April sale. Buy one window, entry door, or patio door and get the next 50% off with 0 payments and 0 interest for 12 months. Check it out at rbastl.com or call 314-332-1924. Renewal by Andersen, a better way to a better window.
Need a lawyer? Onder wins. Call Onder Law at 314-9-million. That's 314-9 all zeros. Or go to onderwins.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertisements.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040. 800-586-4040.
The YouTube live chat poll, we've been talking about it all day. Just at the end of that segment, we were talking about it ourselves and our opinions. Will the next 100 days have more victories, less victories, about the same, or there haven't been any victories? We'll get the results of this poll at the end of this coming segment here at the end of the Manny Fry Show. It is 2:46. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
JerryKelly.com.
Just a small town girl.
This is an attempt by some to virtue signal, and it's this horrible sort of pitting different news organizations against each other, when ultimately the people at fault are Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Jill Biden, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, every elected member of Congress.
That's ridiculous. That's Chuck Todd saying the media didn't miss the story of Biden's cognitive decline. They were just relying too much on politicians to tell them about the cognitive decline. Like, you can't see it. Like, you have no idea
We
what's
missed
happening.
this one, guys.
I also love the idea that you just go and whatever the White House says, that's just what we trust. MSNBC literally yesterday would not air the faces of the mugshots of the illegal alien criminals because they're like, well, we haven't personally verified that they're criminals. So when it's a Biden administration or a Democrat administration, they're like, well, whatever you say is gospel. But if it's Trump, they have to, well, we got to verify everything. Fine. We've said it before. Go verify everything. That's fine. You're the media. You should be doing that. In fact, you are big media. You have the resources to do that in ways that little independent new media often doesn't. So you should do that. To Trump, fine. But at least also do it to your favorite candidate, which you clearly didn't. And it was obvious on a national stage for 4 years that I guess your only inquisitive mind was going, is there maybe something going on with the president? We don't ever get to talk to the guy. Yeah. He seems like he's lost not just his fastball, but like the ability to pitch.
He lost the ability to pick the ball up.
He's lost all of that. We should probably check into that. Who should we call? Oh, Nancy Pelosi. Nancy, is Biden doing okay? Oh, yeah, he's fine. Oh, okay, well, okay, I guess we're done. That's it. Let's move on. So we are at the end of the show today, at the very end of the show today. And we are looking forward to Annie being back tomorrow from Washington, D.C. What do you have?
She did want me to promote the fact that she's going to do a live stream stroll through Washington, D.C. on our YouTube page. So don't go anywhere. She's going to be doing that, and keep your eyes open, turn alerts on for that. And she's going to walk you through Washington, D.C.
Do we know when? Is it right after the show or?
Soon. I don't know. Like everything's happening so fast.
Mike Elam just came in. He's hosting the Mark Reardon show. He said, "When am I going to get to talk to Annie?" We said, "We don't know."
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know. We're trying because she is in the midst of sending us constant. I mean, she's sending us interviews and things. So it'll be fun tomorrow when you tune back in and we get kind of the full inside scoop from her in studio here. Yesterday, I invited Ethan to come in and talk about the Blues and sports stuff, and we didn't even mention the fact that you were in the press pool of that game, and you got to ask a couple people questions at the end of the last Blues game. Anything good? Like, do we need to talk about that?
I mean, not groundbreaking. We mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned their answer. We talked about it yesterday, just that the Blues top line, or for those that don't know what that means, they're best players, right? Playing the most minutes have been outplaying the Jets' best players the last couple of games. And that was a big flip from games 1 and 2.
But that's who'd you talk to at the end?
I asked Braden Shen.
That's what he said?
That. No, I asked them about that. What's changed? Okay. And they talked about a couple of different things that they're doing. Bennington is obviously playing really good as well, and talked about how good of a line they are, and they're going to have success at times, but they've had the better of that matchup.
The Blues seem to make adjustments fast, because one of the post-game talking points that I heard from that game was that Winnipeg had adjusted to the Blues style in the first period and kind of shut the Blues down up until right at the end of the first period. But then the Blues adjusted again and blew the game open. So the Winnipeg coach, I heard an interview where he wouldn't actually say what they did to adjust to the Blues defense.
I was in there actually.
Oh, were you?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I caught the very tail end of the Winnipeg head coach's comments, and then he was asked, what are those adjustments? And he basically said, like, I'm not saying
nope.
Yeah, I'm not
gonna tell you.
He's like, nothing personal. We're going to use that in Game 5 strategy.
Yeah,
so we don't want to make that known.
It's like international negotiations.
There is a level of strategy in a lot of the different things that go on in hockey, especially come playoff time. Even, injury disclosure, they don't have to say, compared to, the NFL or the MLB, they don't have to announce what the injuries are. So, like, for example, some of these guys, both the Jets and the Blues are playing it without big pieces, and most of them are considered week to week. I mean, literally just so that the other team has no idea what's going on. But also things like that, what you're sharing with media and things like that. There is definitely a cat and mouse game to it.
One of the other things we meant to talk about with you yesterday that we just kind of ran out of time on because it was a fun conversation was Shedeur Sanders. What's the deal? I mean, is there any new developments with that? He's been drafted, so I don't know that we're going to see a lot of news.
The draft is over. Shedeur Sanders, we talked about him during Wiggins America on Friday, I believe,
a few days ago.
And because the first round of the NFL draft was on Thursday night, and he was expected to be a top 3 at worst quarterback and was expected to go in the first round. Most people expected him to be gone by that point. And we talked about how he hadn't gotten drafted in the first round. But, I mean, no one would have expected that he wouldn't have gotten drafted Friday night in the second or third rounds. He got drafted in the 5th round.
I saw
the 5th round.
I saw stories today that were coming out that they could just be rehashing what you already knew, but I was reading them anyway because it's just kind of interesting. That said that GMs of teams were instructing their draft people, do not draft this guy. No matter what, we do not want this guy on the team. The only thing I could come up with for because it seems like he's got the talent to be possibly a first round, at least not second round, but fifth round, was that he had become, the story itself had become such a distraction that people were like, look, if he's on the team, then we're going to feel pressure to either start him or not start him. It's the only story, and it's a distraction for every other player on the team. Then
that's one of the challenges of situations like this is when one guy is bigger than the team, especially from a position that is meant to be your leader, your identity, the one that all eyes are on.
Right.
It can become a red flag, right? And they had mentioned, we had talked the other day about how some of his meetings with coaches had gone extremely poorly. We don't have any official quotes like confirmed from this guy or that guy, but there had been a lot of rumors floating around that from anonymous sources that they went terribly and that coaches were extremely disappointed. And you take into consideration it's just some of the things prior that we'd seen blaming on teammates. And I don't know if this is true, but I saw that Deion Sanders was demanding that he was going to be a part of that first meeting. I don't know if that's the case or not, but
was it just that he was cocky? Is that's the kind
definitely
of report?
I think that's definitely part of it. It's even more ironic that you see the team that drafted him, the last guy that you think of to this level that was this cocky, right? Or was the similar style, right? Was Johnny Manziel, and the Browns drafted him, and that ended up being a disaster. I think that Shedeur Sanders has the potential to be much better than Johnny Manziel. He did nothing with his NFL career. But it is just kind of funny, a little ironic seeing that now that they were the ones that went with him. Now, this could also be something that plays out really well. Shedeur Sanders could.
Yeah, you got a pretty good draft
value.
pick there.
He could end up having a phenomenal career, and that it could end up being one of the biggest steals in NFL history.
Can I tell you about my Shedeur Sanders moment?
Please.
It was when I was in college.
Oh, God. When you were on the year that was in high school.
I wasn't trying out to be a football player. I knew that I wasn't going to play.
Golf.
Yeah, it was probably, I also didn't make the college golf team. Barely made the high school team. I was at SIUC, and my RA was awful. And I was like, man, these RAs are free. They pick these people. They're terrible. They don't know what they're doing. And I was like, you get free room and board if you are an RA. Maybe next year I'll apply because I could beat any of these people. These people are dunces. So I
hope there's someone out there right now that's listening that was your RA.
I went through the process of trying to become an RA. And I kid you not, I went into that meeting like, listen, I'm your first round draft pick, guys. You're not going to find a better RA than me. I've never done it, but I can tell you these people that you've picked before are terrible. You should definitely pick me. Guess who did not get drafted in the first round? Me.
You drafted at all?
I did not get drafted for RA at all.
Not even a free agent signing?
Nothing.
Nope.
Nothing. They overlooked me because I had a bad interview. I've always regretted that.
I think I might have literally the interviewing part is.
I might have literally put my feet up on the desk. What's the results of today's YouTube live chat?
258 votes on today's YouTube live chat poll, which asks, will the next 100 days have, and then the options, more victories, less victories, or about the same number of victories? 64% say more victories. Wow. Optimistic group. And 29% say about the same number, and only 7% say less victories.
Let's hope for more victories. We will see you tomorrow. Annie will be back from DC. It'll be a fun day. Tune in to the Manny Fry Show and stick around for the Mark Reardon Show with Mike Elam.
ArtisticDecks.net. If you are looking for the deck of your dreams at an affordable price, you need ArtisticDecks.net. With over 20 years in the business, you call 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. And you have partnered with the best in the St. Louis listening area. Free design and consultation. They handle the permitting process. They are insured, of course. And you can even ask them about their over 500 square foot discount. Book now and get your dream deck built before summer hits. 314-280-0821. That's 314-280-0821. And don't forget to mention the Manny Fry Show when you place that call. Just a small down payment gets you on the schedule, so you'll be sipping lemonade, maybe a margarita or two on that deck by the end